accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do, or...?
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day! And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on your YouTube machine on Monday, March 10th, 2025. Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis, will join the show coming up. That'll be 2 hours from right now. 7 Pacific, 8 Mountain, 10 Eastern. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna absolutely love it. How excited are he is? Do you guys understand that Dr. Ed Scott is not the average guy? I feel like he's a very different dude.
Yeah, I think, when we look at like leaders in collegiate athletics, I think Dr. Ed Scott is dynamic. I think that, he's someone, and we've talked about him before, right? I mean, he's someone that really brings sharp, well thought out points. And I think, college athletics needs as many Dr. Ed Scotts as we can get, because I feel like he's, a forward thinker, someone who really considers all the ramifications of the decisions he makes before he makes them. And I think that, he never seems to just sort of speculate. He always seems to be, just having a plan or understanding what he's trying to say. And I think so often, we hear leaders in college athletics kind of speculate and just sort of, just kind of ramble on. And it's no shade to them, no disrespect to them. But I just, when you hear someone sharp speaking, it when you hear it. And he's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, and I think Memphis, obviously, having another great basketball season. I think there's no doubt they're one of the most valuable G5 brands in the country. And I'm curious, is the Pac-12 still on the table? What is his commitment? What is Memphis's commitment to the AAC? Is the current financial model that G5 teams are working in sustainable? And when you look at the news last week that Tim Pernetti and the AAC released, that the minimum commitment to student athletes per university is $3.3 million a year. Mm-hmm. Where does Memphis fall in that range? I mean, obviously $3.3 million a year in financial commitment is not enough to compete at the highest levels, even at the G5 level. So I think Ed Scott is the exact right guy for the conversations we've been having. I think his background is spectacular. Trust me when I say, you're going to be blown away. If you've never heard Ed Scott speak, you listen to him talk about Memphis athletics, his student athletes, his commitment to the well-being of everybody in his sphere is remarkable.
Yeah.
I think you will absolutely be blown away. Dr. Ed Scott from Memphis joins us 2 hours from right now on the Monty Show, as always, presented by the Advocates. Let's go. Today's the day. We will be watching Jake pass out while giving blood. He will faint violently and smash his skull into the pavement.
Yeah, so what's for lunch today, man?
Jake and I will be at the Advocates office in Murray, Utah today. To donate blood, and I implore you, whether you are in the great state of Utah or not, donate blood today. I am telling you that it is imperative. Every 3 seconds in this country, somebody needs a blood transfusion, and let's hope it's not you. But with car accidents, illnesses, with the way the world works, blood is quite literally the beverage of life in this country. And I think I have always given blood. My wife, her family, her grandfather used to collect, if I'm not mistaken, used to collect these Red Cross pins that the Red Cross would give you when you donated blood. This cat, who used to lift big block engines with his bare hands, I'm not even kidding, would donate blood on a regular basis. He would collect these pins from the Red Cross.
Do you even
And I remember many years ago when Mrs. Monty and I had first gotten together, and she actually thought I was a cool dude. When her grandparents moved out of this condo that they had, and her grandfather had this collection of Red Cross pins that was amazing. Like, it was something he was that in his magnet collection. You want to talk about a dude that had magnets. This motherfucker had magnets like you can't even. Anyway, the point is, you should donate blood today. It is a worthy cause. Come out and see Jake faint and smash his face against the pavement in Murray today, because he's scared of needles and he faints every time he gets blood. That will be scintillating activity today. We will do that at 12:30. The Advocates, Murray, Utah. UtahBlood.org. It is not too late for you to sign up. They have a few slots open. We'll be there at 12:30. And if you walk up to us and say, hey, I watch your show.
Hey, Monty.
We'll give you a $100 Amazon gift card. Just be the first one to do it. All right. Should we get into bracketology?
Yes. 'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. The regular season is over. I can't believe it's already March 10th. Conference championship week, one of the best weeks in the entire year. And I think BYU might be playing the best basketball, arguably in the country, inarguably right now in the Big 12. But is BYU the best team in the Big 12? The answer is no, they are not. Houston is the best team in the Big 12 when it comes to basketball. I think we all can agree on that. But there is no question that BYU basketball is playing some of the best basketball in the country. I think they are playing the best basketball in the conference. Now, to do that in the postseason, to do that in a tournament style atmosphere is a very different beast than being hot to end the season. But Jake, I think this BYU team has captured people's imagination, and I think they're going to be wildly entertaining to watch in the Big 12 tournament.
Absolutely. And I think that, the run that BYU has gone on athletically, is been nothing short of scintillating. I think, you had a great season in football. Now the basketball team is doing what they're doing. And I think the story recently has just been the depth. Like, the bench has really started to come through. When you watch BYU basketball, you begin to understand that offensively, yes, they are dynamic. Yes, they can adapt. Yes, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. But it's not just the first unit. It's the second unit coming in and still executing at a high level. And I think, when I look at college basketball teams, the good teams, and I guess this isn't rocket science, but the good teams always have that second unit that can come in and be productive. And I think when you've got a guy at the helm like Kevin Young, who has NBA experience, understands how to look at a game and say, okay, this is how they're trying to beat us, or how they're trying to slow us down offensively, or maybe this is the matchup they're looking for, or trying to take advantage of, and being able to adapt to that on the fly. I've seen them do that repeatedly over the last 10 days. And I think it's why they're having success. I think it's why they're able.
I'm sorry, wait, did you say this is why?
This is why Cougar Nation is having success on the basketball court. Yeah, I just think that you look at this team, and you can look at any individual player you want to. I mean, everyone's got a different story, but I think as a team, the magic of BYU right now is that they are playing that team style of basketball. We're not seeing the individual, like, hey, I'm just going to go off every night and, throw up 25 and that's how we're winning. Like, there's a lot of ball movement. They're playing team basketball, and I think that's what lets them be successful against these better teams.
Well, I think the fall off in the Big 12 this year has been pretty steep. I mean, you look at the bottom of this league, who's the worst team? Colorado, probably. Colorado, Arizona State, who doesn't seem to have healthy players anymore.
Right.
Utah, obviously Utah with Alex Jensen. I think at the bottom, Cincinnati's going to be a very interesting piece of 2025 Big 12 basketball lore, because I think if Cincinnati doesn't make this tournament, it's a very, very bad for the Big 12. Because you look at the top of this conference, who do you think are the 5 best teams in the Big 12? I think Houston's number 1 until they're not.
Right.
And I think With the way that LJ Cryer is playing, I don't know how you don't take Houston. And then if we're doing power rankings, I think you have to put BYU second.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas Tech, pew, pew. I think Texas Tech has had a shockingly good season. I know we all thought Texas Tech was going to be good. Top 5 good, sure. The second best team in this conference. A lot of people have them better than BYU. Now I'm going to lean towards BYU. I mean, with the way that Ryan Smith is shooting his shot right now with these $1 million checks to the DeBances of the world, I'm going to take BYU. You know,
so I said, yeah.
Qualtrics be damned.
Right.
I'm going to take Ryan Smith and BYU second, Texas Tech third, and then I think very clearly it's Iowa State fourth. I think if Keyshawn Gilbert were healthy, we'd be having a different conversation.
Right.
You look at being a 5 seed. I think in the tournament, I think they're a lock to be a high seed in the NCAA tournament. And then there's Tommy Lloyd in Arizona. And I don't know if you guys saw what Tommy Lloyd did to Arizona. I like Tommy Lloyd. He's a nice dude. Why are you ripping McHale Center? Did you guys see what Tommy Lloyd said about fog and, oh, these buildings are amazing. Boy, the McHale Center's got work to do. Bro, you're the head coach at Arizona, and you're essentially calling out the fans in the building. And I don't know how you...
Probably not your best idea, dude.
Are you out of your damn mind?
Yeah, probably not your best idea, especially when, you know, you're not exactly having the absolute best season that Arizona's ever had.
And the crazy thing is, I live in, as many of you know, I live in Salt Lake City. I'm walking my dog yesterday, right? I'm out walking the dog after an abysmal round of golf. I'm out walking the dog, and there's an Arizona basketball flag down the street. In Salt Lake City. Arizona basketball is without a doubt a huge brand.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to explain to me what Tommy Lloyd is doing, and if you heard it, get in the comment section right now. Is there any disputing that Tommy Lloyd ripped McHale Center? Is it because there is some discussion?
Well, Monty. It
No,
was
well,
how
Monty
he phrased it. Okay, it was this verbiage that was, you know. He didn't rip them. He just was making a strong suggestion, you know? Like, come on.
Bro, I don't know what Tommy Lloyd was thinking. I think they're 5. I think Kansas. What's amazing to me is Hunter Dickinson showing up. Where have you, like, where has he been? Where have they been? This is one of the most disappointing seasons in Kansas basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's emblematic of what's going on in the Big 12.
Well, look, I think what's interesting too with Kansas is like you're looking at being projected to be the 7th seed in the Midwest, and I think that you know Kansas is a team that definitely gets I wouldn't say a free pass, but definitely gets some leash in terms of being a tournament team. When you look at their numbers, you look at how their season's gone, it hasn't exactly been definitive that they should just be some, you know, auto bid into the tournament. And, you know, I think that the question I have, whether, you know, it is Kansas or, you know, BYU or Tech or, you know, whoever you want to look at, Arizona, you know, can you execute in these bigger moments? Because that's the thing that I look at for, you know, a team like BYU, let's say, and this would apply to a lot of teams, but BYU, because we're talking about them, you know, BYU's has played in some bigger games, right? And that's great, but things change when you're playing in a huge building, you know, with a lot of pressure. And you know, you need to win a ball game. Like you look at BYU's numbers and they tell you a story of a team that shoots, you know, very streaky from 3. You know, they're never going to be a 40%, 38% from 3 kind of team. You look at the numbers, they're typically anywhere between, you know, on their worst nights, they're going to be like 31%. Their best nights are like 34%.
They won 8 games in a row.
I know, but that's my point. So my point is that they're not going to win games by shooting the lights out. They're going to win games by grinding on you and by executing, half-court possessions. And I think that's why people are so excited about what they can do in the tournament. That's why they're excited about BYU. But like Kansas is a team that just for whatever reason this year has this propensity to lose to teams and not really show up in a lot of games. Now, I would be surprised if Kansas didn't show up in a tournament game, but if they lose in shocking fashion,
I would not be surprised.
If Kansas loses in shocking fashion to, whoever you want to look at here, Arkansas, who would be surprised? And that's the problem for the Big 12.
I think the problem for the Big 12 is you're capped at 8 teams, and I think you might not get 8 teams in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at Baylor. And it's not like Baylor is exactly lighting anybody's world on fire. Is West Virginia getting in? I have to think West Virginia gets in. Blowing that lead the other night to, who was that? UCF, I think, is not good. They're on the bubble. There's no question. Baylor, I mean, I look at that Baylor's lost 4 of 6. How do you lose to Colorado, right? The worst team in the league. And I've been saying this about K-State all year. How is K-State this bad? This league in the Big 12 is capped at 8. And I think when you're struggling financially, you better get all 8 of those teams in, because I'm not convinced that all 8 get in. I think West Virginia and Baylor have to have strong showings in the Big 12 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have to. And I mean, you can look at Kansas, to your point.
Yeah.
Kansas is playing their best ball at the right time, right? Are you telling me that Baylor and West Virginia are playing their best ball at the right time?
No.
Cincinnati. Is Cincinnati, this league really needs 8 teams in financially. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this Big 12 tournament goes. I think it's one of the most compelling tournaments of the week, because you cannot have a flub at the bottom of this league, especially West Virginia and Baylor. And if I look at Lenardi right now, he's got 13 in from the SEC, 10 in from the Big 10, and 12 from the 8 from the Big 12. And you look at Baylor and West Virginia, and I thought out over the weekend, ESPN had a really interesting question. Are you a lock if you don't win 20 games?
No.
Because I think most of us, you weren't even boiling in the bag at this point, but most of us remember if you won 20 games, you were in the NCAA tournament. And I don't know that that's the case anymore.
Well, I think last week we talked about, I think it was last Tuesday on the show, I think, when we talked about that the good teams at that time were 20 plus wins already. Yeah. And so to me, I think you're this week. Yeah, you got to be, I think probably 24, 23 at least. You
had better.
I don't think 20 wins right here today makes you a lock for the tournament at all. I think if you're a 20-win team right now, that means that you've lost some games that you definitely should not have lost as a typical tournament team. And I think that, again, to your point, it's all about who's playing their best basketball now. And so if you're, let's say you're at 20 wins right now as a basketball team, yeah, you're going to have a really strong showing in your respective tournament. You are you can't just like you bring up Baylor. Baylor's projected to be a 10 seed in the tournament in the Southern bracket.
But you better perform in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of room for error there.
I mean, I look at Lenardi's got Boise State. Can you imagine if Boise State misses a tournament? What would that make? 3 teams from the Mountain West in? Oh my God. I don't think Colorado State's getting in. I could be wrong. But you look at the fact that San Diego State is one of the last 4 in. I think that speaks volumes about how important these games are financially for leagues like the Mountain West. I think the Big 12 has got to find a way to get all 8 of those teams in.
100%.
You got to do it.
I mean,
and
is it strong to say that the Big 12 is struggling financially? I mean,
you're not competitive financially, though.
Yeah.
Not to go backward, but isn't this why the ACC settlement was so huge?
Yeah. Because
you are in a situation now where Clemson and Florida State can compete at the $100 million level if you believe some of the calculations that are coming out. I think Clemson said there's a route where they could make $120 million.
Yeah.
Now, they probably did that on the back of an envelope. I would think.
Yes.
Back
of the envelope calculations.
I could be wrong, but they're talking about being $100+ million unit. That's a lot of money. But if you are looking at bracketology and you say to yourself, well, the ACC is only getting 3 teams in. How is the ACC? That's wild to me.
Yeah, the path that you're referencing from the ACC that these teams are looking at is through the CFP in football. $4 million for the first round, $8 million for the second round, $14 million for the semis, and $20 million for the natty. And so it's this whole deal where it's like, whether we're talking basketball or football, making that deep tournament run is gonna be crucial. It's gonna be everything. Like again, this would be another question that I would have for Dr. Ed Scott, which is, hey, like we heard Lori Navarra say that basketball is about 20% of a media rights deal in the Mountain West. So I'm really curious for the AAC and for Memphis specifically, how important is it to make a deep tournament run? I mean, obviously you want to make as much money as possible, but is the AAC or the Big 12 or whoever you want to look at in a place where they're desperate for that money, or it's just nice to have? Those are two different mindsets to have. And I think when I look at the tournament, there are so many teams where I'm like, yeah, man, West Virginia, you really need to make the tournament, man. San Diego State, now would be a real nice time to go ahead and get to the Elite Eight again.
Yeah.
It'd be a real nice time.
Yeah, and you're looking at a guy in Penny Hardaway at Memphis that just put up a 26-5 season.
Right? See, so again, your 20-win point, right? Memphis has 26 wins. They're in a great place.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Anyway, the ACC and the Big 12 are clearly down, and I think you start looking at this. But that's why this BYU basketball conversation, I think, is critical. When I look at BYU and we look at the finances of this league, if BYU somehow, because right now, where would you put BYU as in a tournament bracket, NCAA tournament bracket? 4, 5, 6?
Yeah.
That's probably where they end up. I mean, we're talking about big money.
Yeah, right now they're sitting as a 5 seed.
Yeah.
They moved up to 5.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Lopes fan Gabe, 20 games is like, okay.
Neat.
Yeah, you did your job. Congratulations, bud. It doesn't feel winning 20 games, like Penny Hardaway winning 26 games, that's a big win. That's a big season.
It's good numbers. Right.
But what is he done? If I'm not mistaken, has Penny Hardaway won less than 20 games? I think it is now, in my opinion, the minimum bar to achievement, which is the crazy thing, considering the way that we've seen college athletics change. Is Cooper Flagg coming back for another year? He's not.
Well, Monty, he's not, in the NBA and all that, come on.
Right. But my point is, I think when you're looking at the way, Memphis doesn't win less than 20 games in basketball. So I feel really good that 20 wins is the minimum bar, in my opinion. Yeah. But hey, is what it is. The SEC has 11 teams with 20+ wins. It's a great league. It is. I think it's the best basketball league in the country right now.
I mean, I think the 20-win, number is a good benchmark when it comes to depth. I mean, 11 teams with 20+ wins. I mean, that tells
phenomenal.
You how deep the conference is. I think, when you talk about making the tournament, I think, if you want to make the tournament, you need to be ideally 24 wins plus. That would lock you in the tournament, in my opinion. I think 22 wins. probably you're kind of a bubble team, right? You're a team that is good. People know about you, but it's going to depend on your tournament performance, right? Your conference tournament performance. So I just think that, again, the Big 12 and the ACC find themselves in a position where, like in the ACC, like UNC, it's a really mid-year for UNC, and they're going to need to find a way to tell a story. And missing the tournament for UNC is obviously, not something they do often, but I just think conferences
Man, is that
right
frustrating.
now. Yeah, it is frustrating. And conferences right now go through this where bigger brands in their conferences sometimes miss. It's rare, but sometimes they miss. So will that happen this year?
Yeah, Penny Hardaway's never won less than 20 games. And that was 2020, 2021, and they won the NIT tournament that year. So he's gone to the NCAA tournament 2 straight years. It'd be nice if they won a tournament game this year.
Yeah.
And then, I just think when you're looking at where basketball programs are and you're looking at where leagues are, 20 wins, I agree with Lopes Van Gabe. That feels pretty middle of the road. If it's not already, BYU is going to be a flagship school for the Big 12. I'm telling you, BYU is the best athletic department in the Big 12 right now. I don't even know how you argue it. With the success and growth they're seeing in football, with the recruiting, the growth, NIL, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you ask, well, what is basketball doing? The exact same thing. You have a young coach who's got NBA connects that is able to recruit players, and you have got a donor base that's willing to pay those players. That is the formula for success right now. And I think when you look at the Big 12, there's no doubt that both football and basketball, this was a down year. With the failings of Utah and Oak State in football, the inability of BYU to close, oddly enough, I think BYU not making the playoff really damaged the Big 12 in football financially. Colorado, them both losing to Kansas. And maybe that's what good leagues do. Good leagues eat themselves, right? Like you are cannibals. And I think we saw that in the SEC. I think we saw it in every league. But the disappointment in Big 12 football and now the disappointment in Big 12 basketball, you got to raise the bar. And I feel like we're talking about the same programs, by the way. I feel like we're talking about West Virginia. We're talking about Baylor. We're talking about Utah. Utah's bad in football and basketball.
Yeah.
You can't have it. Now, you made complete changes in both programs, which is almost inexplicable. That Utah Athletics fired the basketball coach in the season, and you hire Alex Jensen, I think the only guy that you could have hired, because he is the exact right fit. And you get this endowment at Utah for women's sports. And so it's going to ratchet up pressure on women's athletics. And then you look at football at Utah, and you completely change the way you do business offensively. It's wild.
Yeah.
So I want to know, if Baylor misses the basketball tournament, there should be severe repercussions there. But they didn't make changes in football. Why would you make changes in basketball?
Right. Yeah.
Like, yeah. I think you've got to get West Virginia and Baylor. Dude, they have to get in. Right? They have to get in. Bailey Dietrich, Myles Garrett's massive contract. I don't know. That's not really a question. The participle and we'll talk NFL coming up in 31 minutes. Welcome to the nightmare. Big 12 definitely having a down year, which isn't great with football not dominating either. Exactly right. Exactly right. TTU hopefully gets a second seed, Texas Tech. I think that'll be interesting. How much respect does Texas Tech as a basketball program have right now?
Well, 24-win team. I think they've got enough respect.
It's not accidental. That's a good basketball team.
Yeah.
So Baylor's
an 18-win team, man. I mean, come on.
It's not good enough.
Come on.
It is not good enough. Honest question about BYU athletics, though. Did anything more come out of the NIU payment snafu? It didn't. It didn't. What?
I mean, it just, I think that Yeah, nothing more came of it. I think that
Their books are closed. It's private,
yeah,
by the way.
it's private, so like nothing more is going to come of it. I just think that it's nobody wants to talk about it, and that's how business is done in this state. Nobody wants to talk about anything. They don't want to have, so it's fine. It's fine.
Bailey Dietrich, Myles Garrett's massive contract extension with the Cleveland Browns, ?
What about it? Like the guy chose money over winning. He's never going to win a Super Bowl there.
We'll see. Well, NFL free agency coming up in 30 minutes. TCU Big 12. Who cares? Who cares? Go ahead.
Stay hard.
You guys all go ahead in the comment section. Let's start talking women's college basketball. All right. Show's over. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? We're having a conversation. Did they build a new IPF for women's college basketball at TCU?
Business ops building.
They're building a new business ops building for TCU women's basketball now, right? Come on, man. Maury Alvarez, a member of the program for 26 months. BYU is the class of the Big 12, and Utah is chasing. Well, they're not close right now because BYU dismantled Utah basketball the other night. I think that Houston's the best basketball program in the league. BYU is the best athletic department in the Big 12
Program.
Welcome to the nightmare. So bricked up for women's college basketball.
Stay hard.
How could you not be?
Eric
Wasikowski has a question. Women's tournament, is that a thing?
Yes, it is.
It is, but just not in the middle of a conversation about bracketology. And you continue. Okay. Nacho Libre. Women's basketball is fun to watch, but doesn't really move any needle financially. I don't disagree. Women's basketball is significant. Not in the middle of a bracketology discussion about the Big 12. And it's probably my fault for reading the comment. It is probably my fault for reading the comment. But, best basketball team in the country right now. If you had
Auburn.
You think it's Auburn?
Yeah, it's
still?
Auburn. Yeah. I think, I watched Auburn, I think it was 2 weekends ago, played Georgia. Georgia had them on the ropes at the half, and then Auburn found a way. And I think that, Bruce Pearl is someone that obviously is a veteran. Obviously has been here before, been around the block, not their first time. And I just think that, when you look at teams and you're like, hey, which teams are playing their best basketball? Auburn's lost their last two. So obviously not their best basketball, but if you said, hey, Auburn's going to play whoever, who would you rather have? I'd
rather have
Auburn.
Cooper Flag. I'll take Duke.
Yeah, they're going to have to prove that. He's going to have to show he can win big games first.
What?
Yeah.
He's
never played in the tournament, dude.
Who cares? That's college,
care,
but
dude.
That's college basketball.
No.
He's a freshman who's a one and done.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh wow. I think Duke is one of the hottest teams in the country, and obviously they've had the great pleasure of, going through a league where they've played Miami, Florida State, Wake, North Carolina, and now they don't play again for 3 more days. So the Pooper's going to be pretty rested.
Yeah.
I think that right now, I mean, what is Duke's last? Your point is not invalid. Their last great opponent was Clemson, and they lost that game. But if I look at the rest of,
and you beat Auburn early in the season, like you did.
Clemson or Duke?
Duke did. Duke.
No, I mean Clemson. Who do you? I would take Duke.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to take Duke. I think I would agree. Cooper Flag is the best basketball player in the country, but I also agree that when it comes tournament time and you're on a huge stage, like I think Auburn has a lot of ways to win ball games. It's not just about Cooper Flag.
Yeah, we'll see. BT Raider. OU and Texas are bubble teams at 17 wins. Well, Texas doesn't belong in the tournament. Texas does not belong in the tournament, in my opinion. They don't. Wasikowski, Michigan State. What about him? Don't come in here and disgrace yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Roy Wall, Duke is better than Auburn. They played this year and Duke won. That doesn't mean they're better than Auburn. Okay, listen, in basketball, especially basketball, just because you beat a team head to head. And when was that game? I think Duke Auburn was like their 10th game. I want to say that was in November, December 4th.
Yeah.
And that game was in Durham at Cameron. So I'm not saying that, well, Duke beat them, and I don't necessarily believe that means Duke is better than Auburn. At least in my opinion. Auburn losing to Alabama and A&M, not the best right now.
No, well, that's my point, is that they're not playing their best basketball right now. And that's kind of what I was saying. But I do think that Auburn is a team that you should not sit here and say, hey, they are, it's them or Duke. You're not going to sit here and convince me that like Houston is a great team, but I would still lean Auburn if they were playing each other. I still think that again, when you have a veteran head coach, someone who's been there, knows his team, remember where they're at in the cycle, man. They're not a young team loaded with freshmen. They're a team that have veteran players who have been here before and know how to turn it on. And I'm telling you, that matters when it comes to the tournament.
Yeah, I don't. I'm taking Duke. I'm taking Duke, and it is not. Yeah, I don't know that it's close. Jay Chapman, did any team have a worse collapse down the stretch of the season than Nebraska? And losing in double overtime and losing, 7 of 8? Like they're not in a good place. Jeff with 1 F. Hefe? Hef?
Bro.
Yef? Okay. Hypothetical, UH versus Auburn, best of 7. Who wins? Jesus. I don't mean Jesus wins. I mean, boy, that's tough.
I don't live in a what if scenario.
That is, that's tough. Yeah. Right now, when I look at Houston, 14 straight road wins. They won 19 Big 12 games. It's going to be tough for me to take anybody over Houston. And LJ Cryer is playing some of the best basketball in the country right now. I don't know how you would bet against Houston in any realm. I said 19 games in the Big 12. 27-4.
Mm-hmm.
Their losses are to Auburn. Well, Auburn's better than Houston.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, there you go.
Idiots.
Auburn, Alabama, San Diego State, and Texas Tech. Those are their losses. They lost 1 game.
And that loss to Tech was a 1-point game.
And it was
That's how close that was.
But remember, again, that was the Heartbreak Hotel, right? That was at the Fertitta Center, and that's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And I would say that Cryer didn't exactly play his best basketball in that game. So I would take Houston. The Chad Carter gifts.
Okay, let me get back over here. Okay.
Attaboy. Appreciate that.
Nice.
What happened to Colorado and ASU in basketball? They're not good. Bobby Hurley, I think, needs to walk the plank. He's done some things that 60 Minutes had an interesting feature on Dan Hurley. And I just think Bobby is, bro.
Hey, Bobby.
Come on. The stadium guy. But what if Duke ponies up $8 to $10 million in NIL? Would Cooper Flag stay at Duke? No, it makes zero financial sense. And we've talked about this. The money that you're offsetting is not the money he gets in his rookie deal. When's the paycheck for Cooper Flag? The 5th-year extension. The extension of that rookie deal. So every year you stay in college, all you're doing is pushing off the bigger payday. So $8 to $10 million when you sign your rookie extension, is that really that much money? It's not. So, and they're not going to. Yeah, he's going to go to the NBA, and his partnership, his branding sponsors, New Balance particularly, wants him playing in New Balance, which he cannot do at Duke. I don't know how many do people know this story. He's got to deal with New Balance, and he cannot wear New Balance on the court. So he needs to move on. So Damian Fowler, hard to go against an SEC team. I'm telling you, Houston's got the cajoles. They've got the gabagool. You know what I'm saying?
Gabagool.
Eric and Durham, not just a Chad Carter, the Chad Carter. That's exactly right. Welcome new members.
Yeah.
Michigan State are outright champions, #1 seed, says a guy who claims to be a Michigan fan.
Bro, you're a Michigan fan. What are you talking about,
Don't show up here
dude?
with this.
Get the hell out of here.
Good Lord. Roy Wall, so you agree with me then about what?
No, we don't agree with you that Duke is a better team than Auburn. We agree that just because you beat a team
doesn't mean you're better than
them. Early in the season doesn't mean you're better than them. I think that it saying that just lacks all context for what kind of basketball they're playing.
Yeah, I think that's tough. Whoa. Bailey Dietrich, Eric Wasikowski, what was up with the brawl at the end of the game against that team up north? Exactly. My name is Jeff. LOL Jefe, Pocio Los Sebis Way.
Go ahead.
Soy el jefe de jefe senores.
Can we Google translate this?
Senors.
Yeah,
Senoritas. El jefe. The gorditas.
Such as in like.
Entonces.
Right. Such as in like.
I don't speak
U.S. Americans.
a lick of Spanish. I don't. They didn't understand the senior day tradition. Okay. Danny Kiger. Please be respectful because Nebraska's a volleyball school now. Go Big Red.
Monty, we're playing volleyball games in the football stadium, Monty.
Well, you have Patrick Mahomes Light as your quarterback.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Wannabe.
Am I the only one who still can't figure that out? Like, was there some swapping of DNA in that house?
Apparently.
Had to be. Rayola's Mahomes, like
biologics.
Yeah.
Biologics.
It's weird, in my opinion. Whoa, Charisse. I would say Houston is the best team in the Big 12 right now in college basketball, not BYU. I would tend to agree with that. I would agree with that. This time of year, I'm conference
Get
just
the
like
hell out of here, dude. No, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm not letting you do this today. You are a Michigan fan, and you are not going to get off that leash. Take your losses and go home. You are not a Michigan State fan. And I don't want to hear, any excuses or Monty's or anything like that, dude. You are a Michigan fan. You've died on that hill for years on this program. You don't try to run from it now that you lost the game. Come on, dude.
Bro, really?
Come on, dude.
Come on.
And by the way, I'd also point out, not only did you lose to Michigan State, you lost in NFL free agency because you didn't get Myles Garrett. So I understand it's a rough day.
Like, how on earth are you sitting here defending Michigan? You're a disgrace.
Come on, Eric.
You moved to the sanctimonious country, and now all of a sudden you're a Michigan State fan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. El Jefe says it means you already know, bro. I'm the boss of bosses.
Yeah, you're the boss.
Sir.
Yeah, didn't you get boss the other day?
Sir, yes, I did. First of all, not one, but both of my key fobs now their batteries are dead. So that'll be $32 out the window. And then I go to get smog and sticker for my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I roll up. And he's like, "Hey, boss."
What can we do for you today, boss?
Jerk. Jefe means chief or boss. Okay.
So wait, that's Jefe, not Jeffe. Is that right? See how
my name is Jeff.
See how it's spelled? That's not Jeffe.
That's Jefe.
Okay, my bad.
And
sorry.
Joneses. Eric Wasikowski, Michigan is number 2. Not bad. No.
Dude.
It
The
is.
soft person tendency.
Yeah.
What are you doing, dude?
This isn't. See, this is what I don't understand. And listen, I know we don't do DEI in this country anymore, but is that what this is? Is this making sure that there's inclusion for everybody? Have you become, I never thought I would say this. Eric Wasikowski now is a champion of DEI.
I
And
just try to stay strong.
I really am proud of you, man. Like,
I'm still a human.
that you stepped outside of your microscopic dickweed world to become a champion of DEI, to include the sexual assaulters and their medical staff at Michigan State. I mean, it is something special.
It is, dude. It
probably,
is.
Probably too much.
Yeah,
But,
it is.
damn. Jake got that roller gas station taquito this morning that put fire under his ass.
Wasikowski off the hook here, dude. You're a Michigan fan. Don't try to jump off the bandwagon when your basketball team blows, because we know that's what this is, dude.
No, Michigan basketball is
Selectively aggressive.
They're probably a 15. They'll get in.
So as I said,
What are they,
as I said,
15th in the country right now? I think. So they'll get in they'll be in a good spot. BYU's having a great run. Yes, they are. University of Washington finishing last in the Big Ten's hilarious. It's going to be a transition. Dan Lanning got paid, so how bad can it be?
See, but like, this is on brand right here. This is a Washington State fan hating on Washington. That works. See that?
I like
works.
it.
See?
I like it. $32 for a 50-cent battery in the fobs. Yeah, dude.
It's a convenience charge, bro. Come on.
I could do it myself, but I'm not a guy. I'm not on the tools, as they say.
Right.
I'm not that guy. Listen, I know my limitations. Okay. You want me to hit a golf ball? I can't do that either. But
F around and find out.
I know for a fact I cannot fix a key fob, and I'm not willing to.
I'm
not willing to do it. Don't worry about the Cubs season tickets, Morty. You can always root for St. Louis. Exactly right. As a Notre Dame fan, why don't I just root for USC?
Well, the obvious translation here would be that other team that plays on the south side of Chicago that, I'm not sure still exists every year. That would be the obvious inference. Oh, the Cubs suck. Let me just go ahead and shift my allegiance to this other team. That's what that is.
Yeah, I think it is wild to me that we are less than a month away from hot dogs and glizzies at Wrigley Field.
Yes.
I'm excited. Nacho Libre, Eric, that would be like me rooting for KU as a K-State fan. That's what I'm talking about. You can't do that. But again, now Eric Wasikowski, DEI champion. So
DEI king.
Yeah, El Jefe. Right. He's El Jefe of DEI.
Yeah.
And
such as in like
and stuff.
Right.
Wow, this is
show up.
Eric should be rooting for KU. Yes, my bad. NC State ex-coach Kevin Keats into the portal. Yeah, they jettisoned him. He didn't enter the portal. They entered him into the portal.
Pack this thing up. We're out of here.
Goodbye, sir. Go Fighting Irish. Amen to that.
Right.
Do we have a basketball program still? I think we replaced it with hockey.
Hey, that's fine.
Notre Dame hockey's amazing. We don't play basketball ever. UW fan Jim, at least UW has a media deal. This is true. See, this is called rivalry.
Yes.
You, no F you. Hey, we are on TV. Are you guys? No, you're not, losers. Like, that's what this show's about. The comment section on this show, I feel like we're just pushing it earlier and earlier and earlier into the show where somebody like Wasikowski comes in here and comes out as a DEI advocate.
Yeah.
The El Jefe of DEI.
Yeah, dude.
Yes. Which is fine.
He is him.
Brandon Butler, the only tool Marty knows how to use is attached to him. That's exactly right. Just ask your mom. That's right. El Jefe of DEI. I'm being consistent, Monty. After October, I'm a conference guy. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Quote,
stop.
I'm a conference guy.
You are officially for inclusion.
Yes.
And I'm here for it. You know that I'm a big believer that everybody should have the equal playing fields. So I'm with you on that.
Selectively aggressive.
You move to Florida? I would move to Florida. You're the DEI guy.
Yeah.
I'm
DEI king, dude.
I'm El Jefe, please. I am a conference guy.
After what was the date? What was the date here?
October.
After October.
You know, they still play football in October. So,
yeah, so what do
as
you mean?
long as somebody wins the Michigan State game, I'm happy.
Okay, dude. Okay. Right.
I don't, again, as a Notre Dame fan, I don't have Michigan State. I don't have BYU, Utah, or USC, UCLA. I'm not the guy that walks around with half a Michigan State jersey. I'm not that guy. I don't believe in that. BYU fans and Utah fans do it all the time where they're like, oh, the blue and red show. No, sir. No, sir. They're October.
Come on. I mean, that timeline doesn't even add up, dude.
What are we doing? Danny Kiger. The worst part about the state of Nebraska is the Jayskers fans. Is that a real thing? Jayskers? That's Jayhawk and Husker combined. Do you know how ugly that child is?
I mean, Eric, what is it like? What is it like to support two programs that have both sign stealing and iPhone scandals with Mel Tucker happening? What is it like for those to be your two programs?
Whoa, they were buying cheeseburgers from him.
Right.
That wasn't. No, you're confused. That wasn't his meat. That was cheeseburger meat on Mel Tucker's
and it was
phone.
all captured on the Ray-Ban glasses by sign stealer guy. See?
So
it all adds up.
All meat is not equal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mel Tucker, the meat on Mel Tucker's phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Eric. Listen, Eric, you're the Michigan State fan. You know the meat that was on Mel Tucker's phone.
DEI King.
Hefe. You can root for more than one. Says the guy who's a fan of like 11. Wow, TCU. Dude, I don't lose. There's certain Saturdays where like, Texas Tech is playing Texas and TCU's playing Baylor. And the only way I lose is if Oak State's playing a game that day because they never win anything.
And that doesn't even consider women's basketball.
And, and then I'm just, going to roll over to Texas State where have you guys seen the pickleball team at Texas State?
I'm not too familiar with that.
We got to be serious now.
Hi, this is James. Welcome back. Bodix is playing well. So.
Oak State James is I can't even call him Oak State James anymore. I can't because he's not a fan of Oak State. I love these guys who are like, oh, okay, I'm a fan of Oak State. They're terrible. Man, that Baylor, I'm so excited for Baylor. My third cousin's best friend's wife's mother's aunt's co-worker's mechanic, cafeteria worker. He graduated 75 years ago from Baylor.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a Baylor fan.
Obviously.
Not because.
Whoa. We're having problems.
What?
We're glitching.
Jake.
Sorry, dude. I ruined the take.
Anyway, I'm a Baylor fan because my parole officer is you'll find any excuse if dude, oh no.
Oh no. Can you guys still hear us?
Jake, did you do it, Jake?
Can you still?
You did do it. No, we're good. I just think that the
I don't know. I didn't hit anything. It just isn't. Nah, it's not working now. Like, great.
Yeah, you didn't. You did something. Jake did something because we're all frozen up over here.
Great.
But you can still hear us, which is great.
Okay,
So,
well, I guess. All right. Well,
all
right.
Let's see. Stadium guy James, it's hard to have logical discussions here. As bad as Oak State is in basketball this year, I still showed up at Baylor games and wore orange and black. But you're a Baylor fan, a TCU fan.
Just stop at you married a Baylor fan as an Oak State fan. I mean, that's commitment, bro. That auto bids you into Baylor fandom.
That's what I'm saying. Eric, in Raleigh, you picked up the entire landmass of Florida and moved it, Wasikowski. There you go. Damian Fowler, logical discussions. Whose fault is that, James? Yeah, James, that's your fault. I'm not the one. It's hard to have logical discussions. Okay. James is a fan of all these teams, but not his wife's looks. And
it's facts.
And I was saying that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, James, do you understand your track record of logical discussions or lack thereof of logical discussions? Not sure I want to participate in the Red Ass Monday, but if you can't change a battery in a key fob, that says it all. It's not can't.
Okay, wait, hold on. Did you just call Monty stupid?
He did.
Is that what I'm getting
It's
here?
not can't. It's more won't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more
It's premise based.
Choose not to.
Right.
You know, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. It's premise based.
And stuff and like.
Yeah, such as
That's all I'm saying. You know, well, I think it's one of those things where I understand what I am good at and what I'm not. I don't work on cars. My guy Preston is my mechanic. I went to Grease Monkey to get my smog and sticker the other day, and they're like, dude, your car's in great shape. They do this, when you go to somewhere that's a mechanic shop.
800-point inspection, Monty.
Yeah, they're like, you need to do all this stuff. Here's the entire list for $10,000, right?
Right.
The guy from Grease Monkey, after he was done calling me boss, gives me the inspection thing, and he's like, nah, your oil's good. It looks like it. He's like, the only thing we need to do is replace your windshield wiper blades. And what did I say to him? Nah, I can do that myself. He's like, well, you know what? We'll do it for just the cost of the blades. All right, done. I can do it. Why do I want to do? I don't want to do it.
Right.
I've noticed I don't work on cars.
It's a want-to situation.
I'm not a doctor. I don't do heart surgery.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Right?
Yeah.
Monty isn't stupid. Boy, where is this going? He just has better things to do than change batteries and key fobs. We may not always agree, but I still respect him.
It's not a disrespect
It's
thing,
not a
dude.
disrespect
It's just a
thing.
premise convert. It's like people roasting me for eating taquitos off the roller. It's a premise thing.
Yeah. Notre Dame's men's basketball swept Calford this weekend. Oh, yeah, they really? Okay.
Wow.
So we're doing things.
Yeah.
Sharice, I don't think Ohio State basketball will win anything until they get a new head coach. Remember when Ohio State basketball was good?
Dude.
Jim Jackson, remember that? Did you get your ice cube machine fixed this morning? Because again, I don't fix appliances. I hire guys to fix appliances.
Yeah.
I don't do heart surgery. I hire guys to,
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
look at that. Calford gives 50 Monty Show membership.
Nice job, dude.
Let's go. Growing the nation.
Yeah. Nice job.
Can't play the drop for you.
No.
Would love to. You want to just restart your machine?
No, it's not the machine. It's the mixer. We've been through this before.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
it does this sometimes where I don't know what it does. It just glitches sometimes. So it's fine.
Yeah. Keelani, to be fair, those CR 2032s have two sides. So that confuses a lot of noobs men. What's a 2032? I don't know what that is. Lopes fan Gabe, Morty 2 fobs doesn't change wipers either. Sheesh.
Morty 2 fobs.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, it's
that's great, dude.
The buttons don't work either.
Morty 2 fobs.
Okay. I did last winter. I put new wiper blades on.
While it was snowing outside.
Can Monty at least change his own oil? Oh, I can. I won't. Wait, you want me to get on the floor under a car?
No, I'm good. No.
I wash my own car, unlike certain other people. Some people that you may know, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. Some people you may know don't actually ever wash their car, but then all of a sudden they pay a guy $275,000 to detail his car.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I don't change my own oil for sure. The Monty Show more like the poverty show. It is.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Nacho Libre. I've worked in food safety for 16 years. Jake, stay away from roller food. 2 words, fecal matter. It's about the same as eating gas station sushi. Nah, bro. You've been in the business. How bad is the roller food? Because just remember, when you have food on a roller like
We're
hot
getting
dogs.
food advice from an account named Nacho Libre.
Yes.
I just want to point that out.
Yes. And you know what the amazing thing is? All those construction workers, all you dirty hyenas that reach your hand over the roller. Because how many actually hand sanitize after you do your business when you get up and squat and stuff?
Nobody gets up and squats, dude. This is not a team stand show.
Says the team lean guy.
Come on, dude.
You know, UW fan Jim, I know it's Danny Sprinkle's first season, and we need a complete culture change. Okay.
Danny Sprinkles.
Midweek Coug, they have car washes and mobile detailing for a reason. People need jobs.
Agreed.
And key fob changers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jake, go for the pizza at Quick Trip instead of the roller food. We roll up to this dude's house for the weekend.
Hey, man.
We roll up to this guy's house over the weekend. And giving the mother-in-law a tour, you know. We're walking out, and what shows up at the front door?
Lunch, dude.
What did you order for lunch?
I ordered pizza because I was doing stuff, had things to do.
This bro orders delivery pizza. Was it like the pie at least? No. It was Morningside Mike's Pizza, whatever the hell it's called. I've never heard of it.
Mountain Mike's.
Mountain Mama's Pizza, right? Like, and you gave me a slice. It was not terrible. But I just thought it was funny. And then where did we go 4 hours later?
Ruth's Chris.
So you ordered pizza before we went to Ruth's Chris.
Yeah, I needed something to hold me over.
Oh, that was you don't hold you're going to Ruth's Chris. The whole point is not
right.
You don't
but I hadn't
order
eaten
pizza
since like 8.
What? Okay, you ordered pizza before we went to Ruth's Chris. You know, what did I have for lunch that day? I don't think I had really anything for lunch that day. I may not have. Who knows? I can't recall. Sharice, I am a diehard Ohio State fan. I don't pretend to be a fan of other teams like Eric Wasikowski
Yeah, dude,
does.
that's poser behavior, dude.
You're a fan of one team.
Yeah, you get
That's
one
it.
team and that's it.
And if you want to disavow that one team, you can't do that either.
Yeah.
You know, midweek Coug, paying a dude $2 million for nothing is funny. Okay. The Washington State rivalry is huge on this show. Eric and Raleigh, steak pizza. Exactly
right.
All right. 1 hour from right now, Dr. Ed Scott, athletic director at Memphis, will join the show. Looking forward to that. Hour number 2 of the show is always presented by Prize Picks. Jeez Louise. Did I have a weekend on Prize Picks? Not 1. Not 2. 3 for 3 on PGA Tour golf. And I would remind, such as in like, even though Colin Morikawa choked, and how?
Big time.
Because he did, to lose the Arnold Palmer, he still came through with 3.5 birdies or better yesterday to seal what was an undefeated weekend on Prize Picks. And it does not happen often. Prize Picks is not the easiest thing in the world to win, but I got to tell you, it started with a Friday 3-pack of Wyndham Clark, less than 71.5. This is how you know you're living right. I
gave you the Wyndham pick.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You never give me anything. What'd you give me for my birthday this year? Wyndham Clark, 71.5, more or less strokes. I went less, 71. Colin Morikawa, 4.5 birdies or better. I went less, 4. Ludwig Aubert, 70.5 strokes. I went more, 71.
Right.
Nailed it. We are again, after dipping below $500, I believe we were at $489. We are now pushing $1,000 in the Prize Picks account again. We are in business, my friends. We are absolutely in business. Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more. Here's what I got tonight. NBA's hot. I think Isaiah Collier, 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, more. They're playing, well, it is Boston, so 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah.
He's done that 2 of his last 5 at Philly and at Washington. I think you're probably more there. Jason Tatum, 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists against the Jazz. More or less. I think you probably go less. Maybe you stay away from the Celtics.
Yeah,
How long are they going to play?
Stay away from that.
You know. Did you guys see LaMelo Ball? Somebody took video of him on his rooftop penthouse driving a go-kart around the roof of his penthouse.
Okay.
Is that living your best life?
I would guess, yeah.
How did you get that thing up there? I mean, obviously.
How does anything happen?
Helicopter?
Yeah, pay somebody.
I have no idea. You paid somebody to replace your key fobs.
Yeah.
It's fine. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. College basketball. Boys, college basketball and Prize Picks, amazing.
By the way, the new update for Prize Picks,
oh, it's beautiful.
Aesthetically speaking, is incredible.
It is beautiful. I am 100% in on it. I'm telling you that well, let's do women's college basketball because Oak State James is here. Maya Blake, I'm not sure who she plays for. 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists, more or less.
I'm going Demon.
You're going. Stop it. All right, before we get to NFL free agency, a couple more of your comments. LOL Monty said strokes.
Yeah.
So, Nacho Libre. I was a health inspector for 7 years and have worked in the private sector for 9. Eating roller food is a gamble smart people don't take. That's what I'm saying. I did my undergraduate degree at Oak State, going for my doctorate at TCU. Yes, I can root for two teams. No, you can't.
No, dude,
They're in the same league and they are competitors. No, you can't. No, you cannot.
That's not proper.
That's like making up this BS that you're a Chiefs fan. And it just boils his blood when I say that. I bought a Kansas City Chiefs jacket in 1932. Okay?
Off of eBay, Monty.
Yeah. I don't know. Eric and Raleigh, thin sliced filet mignon with a light glazing of tomato sauce and generous helping of fresh mozzarella.
Big glaze guy, huh?
Okay. Grow up. What are you talking about? What do you? Oh, Aaron Wilson has.
No.
Go ahead, play the drop.
Can't do it.
Go ahead.
I can't.
How come?
Because it's not working.
Jake's drop machine is broken. Aaron Wilson gives some Monty show membership.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll clap by myself. Danny Kiger, is today blood day? It is. Imagine getting the infusion of 2 shakes blood just to end up with cravings for gas station roller food and cheap pizza.
Yeah, dude.
See what I'm saying? That's exactly right. Aaron says, oh no, I think Aaron only donates memberships so that you'll there you go. That's how we're using the drop machine. Amazing. I'm here for it.
Do we do what we can on this program, okay?
We do. They did what they did.
Yeah.
Which, again, don't forget Ed Scott, athletic director at Memphis, coming up in 50 minutes. That will be at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, right here on the Monty Show. Let's go NFL free agency because I think, are you guys surprised that the Seattle Seahawks trade DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh? And they didn't get a first round pick for him.
Right.
They traded him and got a second round pick and pick swaps. I feel like Pittsburgh ripped off Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little light. There's no question about it. I think that, DK is one of the best receivers in the league. And, any team picking him up instantly becomes better. There's not. DK Metcalf is definitely one of those names. You add DK, your offense is clearly better.
I think this is nothing short of a coup for the Steelers. And now DK got a huge extension there, right? Like that you paid him $150 million. But I don't feel like Seattle got enough for DK Metcalf. And if we start looking at what the AFC North looks like, Pittsburgh will win 10 games last year with a receiving core that is George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, and Calvin Austin III. If you put DK Metcalf on one side or in a bunch with George Pickens, is this offense, is it better? Yeah, I'm going to say it's way better.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it is way better. And here's the other question. Aaron Rodgers now has been linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers with Sam Darnold as well in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Steelers, which one of those two do you want?
I mean,
I know who you're going
Well,
to say.
here's the problem. I don't like either of them as a candidate. I think the problem is Aaron Rodgers is drama, right? There's a lot of risk with Aaron Rodgers. With Sam Darnold, the problem is people are questioning, was it Kevin O'Connell or was it Sam Darnold? And was that a flash in the pan or is this who Sam is? Nobody knows. You're taking a huge risk either way.
Ooh, I totally disagree. I think that Sam Darnold's the right guy there. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the risk. He's old. Not even drama. They don't do drama in Pittsburgh. I think when I look at their quarterback options, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, both are better than Justin Fields. There's no question. If there's a better fit for Justin Fields than the New York Jets, I don't know where that will ever be. Right? I don't know. I think when you look at these QBs and the quarterback market, I don't think there's any doubt the quarterback market is heating up.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know how humble I am, right?
Right.
You guys know that I would never arrive on set of the Monty show and tell you I told you so.
Yeah, but it's Monty told you Monday.
Anybody see Geno Smith got traded over the weekend? What did we tell you on Friday? I told you Geno Smith was not going to be in Seattle.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a situation where you have a lot of clubs looking for quarterbacks. I think Geno's a great fit in Las Vegas. He's a good stopgap there. Where does Sam Darnold go? Is there a better fit than him in Pittsburgh or Seattle? I think he fits in both those places. I don't know where Aaron Rodgers fits. I don't know. My guess is I think he ends up in Pittsburgh. They like veterans. They facilitate the development of veterans. I think when you look at Cleveland, Myles Garrett, did you guys see that Myles Garrett is staying in Cleveland? He gets $123 million guaranteed. So what was all this nonsense about you wanting to win? This was a ploy to get you paid.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're saying. This was a ploy to get you paid. This is one of the most disappointing outcomes to a trade demand that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you took the money instead of winning. You simply traded being a $100 millionaire for winning a Super Bowl, which is fine, but don't try to convince me that you want to go somewhere and win. Don't be out in the media or having your agents say that, oh man, I don't win here and these guys aren't serious about winning, so you need to trade me, only to sign a really lucrative deal with that team in that same team that's not going to win anything. Like, I just don't understand it, dude. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't either. And my biggest question is, if you're the Detroit Lions, did you do everything you could do to get Myles Garrett? Because you need him. You need him in ways that I just think that you really, really needed him. I mean, am I making too much out of that?
No, I mean, I don't think you're making too much out of it. I think he was definitely, a player that could have been game changing for certain teams. The Lions obviously being one of them. But again, this is the point: is that you had opportunity. You could have gone to the Lions. You could have forced the Browns to traded you to a better situation, taken less money, but played for something that mattered. Like, I don't want to hear this dude complaining that they don't win in 2 seasons. You chose this route. You made your bed, and now it's time to lay in it. And I think that, it's not on the Lions that dude just wanted to get paid. I'm sure the Lions did what they could to try to get him, and it just wasn't happening. So I just was shocked, man. And frankly, I was a little disappointed in that decision out of him.
I think one of the most fascinating situations is this Justin Fields deal, because I think it's very clear Pittsburgh wants Justin Fields back. And as Adam Schefter just tweeted, Justin Fields put a photo on Instagram of himself in Dubai. And it does not seem like he's in a hurry. He is, according to Schefty, he is choosing between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets. He cannot make a Jets decision until he sees the offer on paper, which cannot happen until this afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see where this all plays out. And I think Justin Fields cannot be the starting quarterback, in my opinion, in Pittsburgh. I don't think you spend that kind of money on DK Metcalf.
Right.
To get a guy who does not have unquestioned success throwing the football in the National Football League. That's Darnold or that is Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
If you are the Jets, I think you have time to develop Justin Fields. And I think you want a more versatility in a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers showed you what he cannot do, but he also showed you what he can do, and that's get the ball down the field. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great fit in Pittsburgh, but
yeah,
I don't know ultimately how that ends up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Pittsburgh doesn't do drama, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to cause problems because he is. That's who he is. Like that's who this guy has been. His track record has shown it repeatedly over and over and over again. And so I don't know, man. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm not sure that I'm willing to take a flyer on a 41-year-old quarterback, 40-year-old quarterback who has this Achilles thing, isn't the same guy he was, Yeah,
but now don't you have, if you're Cleveland, don't you have a really important choice at quarterback now? Right? If you are again Pittsburgh, I think you're choosing between Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold. I don't believe that you can go with Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are Pittsburgh, now don't you have the most dynamic receiving duo in the NFL? T. Higgins or DK Metcalf? I'm probably taking DK Metcalf.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, we haven't been able to see what DK can be in a great offense, with all due respect to Seattle. You haven't had, I like Geno, but Geno's not, some, MVP caliber quarterback. And I think that's what the Steelers are trying to figure out is can Aaron Rodgers, be the guy for one more year? Can he actually show up and play most of the season?
I don't know.
Or can Sam come in here in a defensive-minded organization and be a bright spot on offense? Like that, I'm telling you, that's a serious question. People are not just going to sit here and be completely sold. I'm not saying that Sam didn't have a good year. I think what people are really concerned about is that you had a great regular season and then this postseason happened and you look like the guy you used to be, not the guy in the regular season. That's the problem.
I agree.
So if you're the Steelers, what is the the win-win for you here? Is it, hey, we got Aaron Rodgers, and then if it doesn't work out, people will say, yeah, well, it just didn't work out. He was an older guy, can't blame me for making that decision. Or is that the Sam Darnold route? And that's what defines organizations, which way you go here. Or is there any opportunity that there's a dark horse that nobody knows about too? Because I think that what the Steelers have shown us over the years is they're always willing to look at every opportunity. They have shown that over and over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting what happens to Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a name we're not talking about much here, but I think this this situation with Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold as the quarterbacks seem to be heating up now, I just think you have to take advantage of dynamic receiving talent when you have it. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I much more like in Cleveland. I mean, you've got talent in Cleveland. Darnold's probably the best pick in Cleveland. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. And then you look at Devontae going to the LA Rams on a 2-year deal, Devontae Adams. I mean, that's a really nice pickup for them, I think. He more than replaces Cooper Kupp, right?
Certainly. And I think that, I got to say, I mean, with all due respect to Cooper Kupp, I love Cooper Kupp. It's just time for them to move on and getting a motivated Devontae Adams on your squad.
Ooh.
That's great news. And I think that, what I said last week, I think holds true with the decision he made here with the Rams, which is you needed to go somewhere where they had a great offense. They had a gunslinging quarterback. And I think I'm just speculating, but I'm guessing this is why Stafford decided to come back, because he saw, hey, if I come back and then we can go make a run at either DK or Devontae, ends up being Devontae, we're going to be in a lot better of a spot. And so then you can have Devontae and Puka. And then if you can figure out a run game a little bit, you're in a great spot. So again, I just think
disagree with that.
There's a lot of these guys right now, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, who are in this spot in their career where they're on the back end, still have gas in the tank, can still contribute at a high level, but they have to be in a good situation. They can no longer make up for Jimmy Nobody, and his lack of talent, right? They can't do that anymore. What they can do is they can deliver the football from the pocket, provided you have a wide receiver that's outbeating his assignment. And that's what I think you're saying right now.
Yeah, and I think when you look at there's just so many variables here. Again, free agency starts at noon Eastern. I think it is going to be remarkable. What are we, just 3 hours away? It's going to be a remarkable run through free agency.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Danny Carger, Darnold is better choice at this point in their careers. Mayfield survived changes in the team and coordinators just fine. Rodgers hasn't. Well, maybe there's truth in that. I think you cannot waste this wide receiver talent. And you just paid DK $150 million. So I don't
get someone to feed him the ball.
You got to have a good quarterback.
Yep.
Ferris Khan, nobody cares. I don't know what Ferris said because he got filtered. So good luck, Ferris. Damian Fowler, what about the felon Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver? Well,
and there's this.
If you guys didn't see, Xavier Worthy got arrested for felony domestic battery. And it is ugly. The details on this, I mean, I don't even know how you explain this.
Yeah, I mean, the story goes that he was in a relationship, and clearly this relationship, devolved into whatever. And the woman would not leave his house. And his lawyer, through a statement through his lawyer's claiming that the story goes, hey, over the last couple of weeks, we had asked her to leave. There was a private investigator that Xavier Worthy had apparently hired, who has allegedly, on video evidence, the woman destroying a room and hitting Xavier Worthy, and they allegedly have photos where of a dread lock that the woman pulled out of Xavier Worthy's head. And, so his defense is that, hey, I tried to get this woman out of my house for several weeks. And, one thing led to another as I was trying to get her out. And now we're here. And his defense is that it was essentially self-defense. That's what he's saying. And that she's made baseless claims against him in an effort to not move out. That's what they're going with.
Now, the important thing to point out here is no charges will be filed. The district attorney declined it. I have no idea what that loud bang was. The district attorney declined the charges. But again, I look at this situation with Xavier Worthy and I say to myself, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
What are these women doing? If you're in a situation where violence happens, you have to immediately get out of it. If you're in a situation where violence is hinted at, you have to immediately get out of it. I don't care if you're Jimmy and Joe or if you are Xavier Worthy. I don't care why. You got to get out of it. And we see these situations end so poorly so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at a guy like Xavier Worthy. He's got everything going for him. He is one of the best young players in the NFL. He is paid. He is healthy. You cannot put yourself in these situations.
Well, and I think there's a piece with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. The Kansas City Chiefs now, I think the number was 7 or 8 of these guys now over the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Well, and I don't want to say these guys. I want to be I don't presume guilt on Xavier Worthy. This is not Javon Belcher. This is not all these other situations, Tyreek Hill's situation, all of the domestic violent player situations.
Mm-hmm.
I think Xavier Worthy is a victim. If I had to give my opinion based on the facts that are publicly known. So, but this is your 7th or 8th domestic violence situation on your roster.
Yeah.
That I'm comfortable saying. I just don't think that you can continue to live your life like this. This to me is a big red flashing light. Somebody needs to intervene on his behalf because this is ugly. This is really, really, really ugly. So, let's see who else. Adams will be a great fit with Puka Nacua as well.
Puka Nacua.
I would agree. That's going to be very dynamic. I think Miami should try and get Russ on a backup deal because Tua's past injuries. Yeah.
I would not mind that at all.
I don't know where Russ goes because he says he's not finished, but, we'll see. Blue Turf. Is Russell Wilson still being paid by Denver? If so, Pittsburgh will keep him. I want to say he's a free agent. Is he not? Russell Wilson's contract situation. We'll see. Pittsburgh Steelers. No, I don't believe he's coming back there. Yeah, I think that Russell Wilson, he's just not, was Russell Wilson terrible there?
No.
He was not. He was not. But was he dynamic? Was he good? Did he drive the ball down the field? He did not.
Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent, bro.
Yeah, he's
not being paid by anybody.
Yeah, his contract is over.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at his situation, I don't think that you are going to be able to justify bringing Russell Wilson back because Sam Darnold's a better option than Russell Wilson. That is what it is. That is where he is. So, and I think when you look at the arms race happening this offseason in the NFL, and it's absolutely an arms race.
Yeah.
You look at the way that players have changed, whether that's Debo or Myles Garrett now getting paid or Devontae Adams or I expect there to be a lot of motion in free agency today. And I think that noon, we're going to get a lot of clarity on these situations very quickly. Because I think if you're an NFL team that doesn't have a quarterback, you're not really competing. Right. I've said this. How many times did I say this about the Bears?
For years, dude. For years.
The Bears have never had a franchise quarterback until now. And you look at how they have transformed that roster this offseason because they're not worried about the quarterback. They're more worried about the offensive line. And it's what you have to do. There's just no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Dude that abides. It can be assumed at a high level medically, I'm sure. But I'm not. What are you talking about? I'm confused.
Yeah, what are we talking about there?
This ain't a scene. It's an arms race. That's exactly right. CTE testing needs to be initiated by the NFL when impulsive behavior. Yeah, you can't do CTE testing until they're no longer among the living. Because you need to take the brain out of their skull and examine it and test it. And you can't do that fully and with certainty until you are expired. The player dies.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you can do a myriad of imaging You can look at hotspots. You can do all kinds of things, but you cannot definitively test for CTE until they are passed, unfortunately. So it just is, it just is what it is. I think it is going to be a very interesting day. This is the most shocking headline of the weekend, in my opinion. Not even the DK and Geno trade. I think Myles Garrett getting $123 million to not win, because I agree, until they win, they're not winners.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Myles Garrett is making a choice here, which is, hey, I want a payday versus I want to play for, an organization that's got a winning track record, and I think that the hard part is that, now you've sent the message that kind of what you were saying earlier, like you only said all those things just so you could get paid. And that's the hard part is I don't want to. My biggest thing here is 2 years from now, we're going to hear Myles complaining about that they don't win. That's my biggest concern. And again, my main point is, hey, you signed on the dotted line to be a part of an organization that's proven to make silly decisions, with all due respect. Like, that just is what it is.
I think Kevin Stefanski's an amazing coach. I just don't know. You look at the Deshaun Watson situation. Did you guys also see he renegotiated his contract, which made this extension possible? He's now been paid all the guaranteed money on his deal. Deshaun Watson. So there's no more guaranteed money on his deal. This is it for him in Cleveland. And you'll remember he tore his Achilles last year. And then I think it was first week of January, he re-injured it.
Do we ever see him in the league again?
No, I think he's done.
I think he's done.
He's done. This was a complete and abject failure in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He was not good. He is not healthy. And whether, I don't know, did he rehab properly or not? I have no idea. But whatever happened there, it did not go well.
Yeah.
It did not go well. That awkward guy, is Aaron really better than Wilson? You really don't think that Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson? Listen, I think it is. We can do all this stuff if you want. We can have a lot of conversations. Do you really want to make the case that Aaron Rodgers is beyond his days as an NFL quarterback?
Well, I think there's a strong conversation to have about his availability the last 2 years. I think that's a major concern.
He played. Let's fact check this. Aaron Rodgers played games last year. Now, did he play well? No, he did not. Was he the dominant force that everybody expected him to be? No, but the guy played 17 games last year. Let's not forget that. He threw for 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. The dude can still throw the football. The problem is he was sacked 40 times. 40 times. Now, my guy in Chicago, Caleb Williams, Mr. Nail Paint, got sacked 68 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, is Aaron Rodgers a mobile quarterback? By no measure. But let's not write it off like Aaron Rodgers just is old and can't perform anymore. The guy threw for 28 touchdowns and 3,897 yards. And he completed the problem. Here's another problem. He only completed 63% of his passes.
Well, and I also think, like, when you think about the division, think about it from a division standpoint, the AFC North is savage. I mean, that's one of the toughest divisions in football. And, again, while we're sitting here talking about Myles Garrett, like, you got a bunch of dudes like that in that division who are get after the quarterback guys. And, again, both of these guys, Aaron Rodgers and Sam, are, quite frankly, Sam, it's not like Sam is some great mobile quarterback. He can run a little bit, but it's not like he's prolific or anything, So I don't know, man. I personally have major reservations about Aaron Rodgers. I'm not.
But you don't like his off-field stuff.
I think the locker room stuff. I think the media stuff. Like, if you want to go on podcasts and stuff, that's on you, bro. Like that, we can leave that out of this conversation. But the way
the Pat McAfee stuff is a problem. I agree.
But like that, like the media stuff, his media availability, immunized thing, that type of energy. I'm not saying he would do that same thing again. But we just know who he is. You know what you're getting when you sign with him, man.
You should watch a couple of episodes of that Netflix series he has, because it's fascinating he doesn't try to hide any of it either. He does not try to hide any of it.
So then if we're all on the same page about who this guy is, and we know that he can play, but you can't tell me that you're convinced that this guy's got another
2 years.
Awesome.
I think he's got 2 years at a very high level. And if you put him on that offensive line, and if you put him in that offense, and you allow him to play in a system that's made for him, I think they would win. They can win that division. They can win that division. He is not a guy that you look at Darnold's numbers last year. 4,319 yards, 66% completions, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, sacked 48 times. They're very similar quarterbacks. Very similar quarterbacks. And I would remind you, Darnold had one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And they both played 17 games last year. I think people forget that Aaron Rodgers played 17 games last year. Yeah. It's not like he's injury prone. All I am saying is Aaron Rodgers, I think the malaise of BS off the field taints his performance. There's no question about that. That all goes away in Pittsburgh. If I were Pittsburgh or anybody else signing Aaron Rodgers, but if I'm Pittsburgh, I mandate he doesn't go on Pat's show.
I don't know that he'll sign with you if you do that.
Well, then he's not going to play in the NFL.
I'm curious, if you're Aaron Rodgers, would you agree to that type of clause?
Yes. Yes, I would, because if he goes to Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers with that wide receiver core and that defense has an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, they are Super Bowl contenders. They will contend in that division. He's shown you he can stay healthy in that division. He has shown you that he can stay healthy, or in the AFC East, he's shown you he can take a beating because he took a beating in the AFC East. Is he Josh Allen, who got, I think, 260 guaranteed? No.
No,
but is Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year deal with a second-year option worth the risk? Yes. Yes, he is. Because I think he's still an elite NFL quarterback in the regular season.
Yeah, and that's where I think we just disagree on this one. I don't think that he's worth the risk. I think he's not a fit culturally in Pittsburgh. I think that Pittsburgh, while I agree, is a no-nonsense organization, and they don't put up with that stuff. And we've seen them, the Le'Veon Bell thing, we've seen them deal with guys. Antonio Brown, obviously, we've seen them, work with drama, as I call it. Whatever
Ben
Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger, certainly. We've seen them deal with things like this, but I think that it's not typically, something that they go out and get that guy. Those were Roethlisberger was a staple of the organization, so they chose to put up with it, right? When AB was there, he was not the guy he is now. He was a great NFL wide receiver,
and they still cut him.
So my point is that if we know that about Pittsburgh, I'm just not convinced that they're going to go out or, even make a 100% effort to get Aaron. I agree with you. I think that they would they would say, hey, if you want to play in this organization, we'd love to have you, but under these conditions. And that is either going to make or break the deal. And I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is willing to not be the center of attention in the media. I just don't think. You're not going to sit here and convince me that this guy just all of a sudden is nope, not going to do Pat's show. Nope, not going to be a problem in the media. Not going to play the game. Not going to have all the antics. And that's where I just think we disagree, because I'm also not convinced that you believe that he has 2 good years left.
I do.
I don't believe.
And
that.
I think you structure it financially year by year.
Well, yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh, I think you structure it year by year financially. And I think you do everything you can do if you're Pittsburgh to get him, because he is an upgrade to what he's certainly an upgrade to Russell Wilson. I think, and here's the Schefter tweet. I think that Mike Tomlin would immediately have Aaron Rodgers' respect, which I don't think ever happened in New York. And I think Aaron Rodgers, you look at what's the difference? Aaron Rodgers went to New York and everybody viewed him as a savior. He got hurt on the first drive.
Mm-hmm.
Never the same. Aaron Rodgers now has to prove he's still that guy. And I think it's exhausting for him to hear people questioning him like you're questioning him.
Wow.
And I think he would go in there and I think he'd be motivated. And I'm telling you now, You put a professional like Aaron Rodgers on a level where you say, yeah, you're not good anymore. Special things tend to happen in those places.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron's got the opportunity. I don't like, this is the Myles Garrett thing. I don't understand this because all you did, in my opinion, is you cost the Dallas Cowboys money with Micah Parsons. I don't understand this deal. I don't get it. I would love to. I don't understand what Myles Garrett was doing demanding a trade and then signing a $123 million contract after you said you want to go and compete for Super Bowls.
Yeah, and that's on the heels of what Max Crosby did, which was, I feel like at the beginning of Max's process, there were hints of it. It wasn't, so slap you in the face as Myles was with it, but there was still a lot of conversation about whether Max was going to be there. And if, he was going to be in demand, like he's a great player, obviously. And then, sign the extension. So I think that, I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of the process for Myles. Was it a thing where they couldn't get a deal done because like they wanted too much value or whatever? Or because remember, the Browns also said at the beginning of that process that they were not going to trade him. They said that publicly.
Never had a desire.
Yeah, they were not going to trade him and they would figure it out. And now here we are, and they did whatever they did, and Myles acquiesced. So
we did what we did.
I'm not sitting here saying I've lost respect for Myles Garrett. What I'm saying is that I just don't think that the guy wants to win bad enough where he would be willing to be that stubborn about it.
It's an interesting question, man, and I'm here for it. I love this. I love the NFL back and forth on it. But yeah, rock and rant. Aaron Rodgers is exhausting.
Yeah.
This is probably the best Aaron Rodgers point. There is a circus around Aaron Rodgers.
But it's the Steelers, and the Steelers have shown this ability to shut that down.
Yeah.
So who wins in that scenario?
And I think one thing that where are the Detroit Lions? Like, I'm waiting for the Lions to go and get Myles Garrett, Hendrickson, the best available pass rushers, Max Crosby, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
They have to be in the market. But if you're Cincinnati, what is Cincinnati going to do with Hendrickson? Are you really telling me? Are you really telling me that we're going into a situation where you think that somehow they're going to allow him? I can't believe that. I think Trey Hendrickson is an unbelievable performer. And the idea that what is he looking for? Right? Like, you're looking for a payday. You want Max Crosby money. You want Myles Garrett money. Myles Garrett's the highest paid non-QB in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's a lot of bread, dude. I mean, Crosby, $35.5 million per year. Hendrickson due at $16 million. You're making less than half the money that Crosby's making.
Yeah.
Right? And you're back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. That's a lot of sacks. I don't know who's willing to pay that because he's also 30 years old. And if you're Detroit, are you willing to trade and extend Hendrickson at 30 years old? I think that's a huge question mark. It's a huge question mark.
Yeah, and obviously they did not have any involvement in the DK thing or the Devontae thing. So,
because you'd have thought they would.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, at some point, like, you're either going to spend money on defense or offense, and not doing either is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, I just look at some of the monopoly money being thrown around, and I am shocked by it. I want to. Justin Fields tweeting or putting a picture of him drinking coffee in Dubai is as gangster as it gets. I love that. He's happy to be in Dubai making a decision on his future.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing to me. And I think I think, like, what do you do if you're the Giants? Are the Giants unquestionably drafting a quarterback? Are the Giants at all in play for Aaron Rodgers, Russell
Yes.
Wilson, Sam
Aaron
Darnold?
Rodgers, I think. Yes.
Is that like Jimmy Garoppolo as somebody being linked to the Giants? That's a backup quarterback. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's going to be very interesting.
This is why I say, like, it comes down to what these organizations want to do. If the Steelers want to get Aaron Rodgers, then they'll go get him. They'll give him an offer that's above and beyond what other teams are offering him in the market. You know, I mean, again, I think you guys got to remember that none of this is secretive, right? Like, none of it is like, classified, if you will. Everyone knows, like, the Steelers know what the Giants are offering. If they're offering, these different teams know what they need to do to close a guy. It's whether they want to do it or not. That's the thing. Like, the Browns did not want to trade Myles Garrett. So what did they do? They acquiesced. They got it done. They paid him what he wanted to be paid to put an end to that narrative and storyline. So like with Aaron Rodgers, I think the Aaron Rodgers thing is hard because it's not just like, hey, who does Aaron want to play for? It's so situational. He can't just go anywhere. He's got to go. This is the Devontae thing. Devontae couldn't just go anywhere. He's at a place in his career where you weren't going to burn another 5 years in a garbage organization. You needed to go somewhere where you had an opportunity. That's why he went to the Rams.
Aaron Rodgers, maybe it's what Rock and Rant said. Aaron Rodgers is it's exhausting. The whole thing is exhausting.
Yes.
Chewy, Will Howard to New Orleans. We'll see. He had a terrible combine.
Yeah.
Terrible combine. Kim Coulter, been listening since 8:04 Eastern. From BYU to Aaron Rodgers, most wide-ranging show on YouTube. Good morning from driving range in Orlando.
Nice.
Trying to decide the Christmas trip. We were going to we're going to Paris for Christmas.
Right.
We were going to end that trip in Rome. And the flight is stupid to come back home. Like, it's 3 stops. You got to go to LA or Seattle to fly back to Salt Lake. Not feasible. Then we were originally going to Brussels and London. And now we're looking at like West Palm or Miami. And like, how often are you in the European side of the world? To the point where should you spend New Year's? I think we need to figure it out because flights are not cheap. Flights are super expensive. We need to figure out where we're going. But Orlando wouldn't be the worst thing. Hawaiian golfer Myles Garrett wants to continue to set up his family for financial success for decades to come. That's not what he said.
Yeah, that's not what he said, dude.
It's not what he said. Maybe Garrett wanted to leave, but they just found his price. Could be. Myles is a headache. Good, but a head case. A head case, excuse me. But good, but a head case. I would agree with that. Was this a good or bad year for Myles to ask for a trade due to the poor QB draft? Interesting. Mac, Bosa aren't drama queens. Wouldn't be surprised if they get signed by the end of the day. Have to. I don't know if Khalil Mack still has a lot left in the tank. He's viewed, I can tell you this, he's viewed as damaged goods.
Yeah, I think he's on the Von Miller trajectory. Von went through the same thing.
He got cut in Buffalo the other day.
Yeah, but like before, leading up to that, like, he had his time in Denver, and like there was definitely a downward kind of arc with him.
I think here's an interesting question. What do you make of are you a fan of the Josh Allen contract?
I mean, I just don't think they had a choice. I think Josh Allen there's no question you're signing him. Like, you're going to pay him, and you're going to pay him a lot of money. And I think that, in this league, you either have a quarterback or you don't. And I think Buffalo is in this terrible situation where you just gave the guy a 6-year deal worth $330 million and $250 of it's guaranteed, and you haven't been able to beat Kermit and company to get to a Super Bowl. So it's like, yeah, you had to sign him. You didn't have a choice. You were always going to do it. And it was always going to be a high value deal because Josh Allen, with all due respect, is worth that for sure. The problem is that deal now changes your cap, obviously, and forces you to make other decisions in other areas. And I just don't know that it's going to, help you in the long term. I still think that we're in this scenario in Buffalo where you either are going to have to make a move on the coaching side, or you're going to have to make a move and go out and get more weapons, because that's ultimately what limits them. How many times are we going to sit here and talk about Josh Allen having to cover up for the weaknesses of the wide receiver core, and the defense, holds Kansas City to 24 points or whatever, and they just don't have enough firepower to get over the hump? That's been the story in Buffalo. So I like the deal. You needed to do the deal. Josh Allen's on your team forever now, but I don't know that this helps you win more games that matter.
Yeah, Memphis Athletic Director Dr. Ed Scott joins us in 10 minutes on the Monty Show. You know what? I think you better go and get him help now.
Mm-hmm.
You had better go and get Josh Allen help. You paid him, what was it? 260 guaranteed,
250 guaranteed, and 330 overall.
Dude, that's a lot of jet
on a 6-year deal.
For a guy who has consistently not performed in the biggest games. Take the excuses for those poor performances in big games, and maybe poor performances strong. Take the excuses for lack of winning in big games away.
Yeah.
Get him the secondary he needs. Get him the wide receiver talent he deserves, and then go win. And then if you can't win, and I think what this does is this puts Sean McDermott, it's squarely in the jackpot now.
Yes.
Because now you paid your quarterback, and there's no getting away from it.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't get to have it both ways. I mean, you've got, an MVP caliber quarterback playing for you in his prime. Like, you're as a Buffalo Bills fan, you're sitting here watching the Bills, with all due respect, waste Josh Allen's prime. Like, Josh Allen is a guy that should be winning you Super Bowls, but I genuinely feel like the first 2 times they got to the postseason, Josh, didn't have great games, right? Threw the interceptions, didn't take care of the ball. We all know that part of the story. And then he's evolved now and is taking care of the football, is carrying his team, is running for touchdowns. He's in my opinion, Josh is playing well now in the postseason. But that's been an evolution for him.
You buy into that?
Yeah, I think he's playing fine. Yeah,
Ooh.
I don't think he's the reason they're losing. I think they're losing because they don't have wide receivers that make the catch when they need to. I can't remember the guy, Gabe Vincent, in the end zone.
Come on, man. Come on, boy.
Gabe Vincent
Come on, man.
in the end zone. Sorry, it hit you in the hands, dude.
There's a lot of other quarterbacks I want than Josh Allen playing for a championship.
I don't know that the word is a lot. I think
there are many.
2.
Caleb
maybe.
Williams, and who else?
Not Caleb Williams. Hell out of here with that. Come on now.
I think this was the only move possible for Buffalo.
Yeah.
End of discussion. You got to start looking at the head coach if they don't win a Super Bowl this year. I think that's it. You don't spend that kind of hundreds of millions of dollars on a quarterback and lose. Oh, I don't know, like Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Are you Cleveland, or are you something other than what you've been in Buffalo? Because I think, and I'm going to again say this, and I know that this is crazy talk. I'm telling you right now, you better have an offensive coach if you're going to pay your quarterback $250 guaranteed.
Yeah.
And Sean McDermott's not that dude. He's not that dude. And I think that if they do not win this year, there can be no more excuses. I understand. Somebody was saying the other day that this is Jordan and the Knicks, that Patrick Ewing didn't win because it's Jordan and the Knicks. No, I think Patrick Ewing didn't miss because he finger rolled, or didn't win because he missed a finger roll. I think there's a reason people don't win. And I get that there are constant battles, and I understand Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady kept a lot of people from winning Super Bowls, but you need to be better than them.
Well, I also think that what we're not, I mean, you were kind of alluding to it with McDermott, but Andy Reid's been kicking the hell out of Sean McDermott for several years now. And that's part of it. And I guess that's really what I'm trying to say is I don't feel like now it's all on Josh that they're not winning. I feel like those first 2 postseason appearances, he threw interceptions, didn't take care of the football. That cost them those games. They had those games. He lost those games. But it's not on him anymore, man. It's not.
I think you need when you spend significant money on a quarterback in the NFL, and I think this is now NIL, college football, I don't care. When you invest the kind of money that these teams are investing in players, you can't go and be the Dallas Cowboys, right? You can't build these awkward rosters.
Yeah.
You can't draft Caleb Williams and then try to force him into the same Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields equation, right? You can't. So I look at a guy like Josh Allen, go get him wide receivers. I look at, you went and got DK Metcalf, go get him a quarterback who can get him the football. You have to build systems to help your people thrive.
Yeah.
That's in corporate America. That's in sports as a team. Build a system to help your people thrive. Do the Dallas Cowboys do that? No, they do not. Do the Kansas City Chiefs do that? Yes, they do. The Chiefs are a dynasty. The Cowboys are a laughingstock.
Yeah.
What are the Buffalo Bills? You have a quarterback that's an NFL MVP who just can't get it done. My opinion is there's some of that that's on Josh Allen. There's a lot of this that's on a lack of quality skill position players in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I guess we can sit here and we can rage back and forth, but I just don't know how do you take the excuses away?
I think by adding weapons. I think that's how. I think that, you haven't had, who's your best wide receiver there? Can you even name him? You had Diggs at one point and that flamed out.
It did. And then now he's injured.
So I look at it, and if I said to you, hey, your quarterback, because the way I view that investment in Josh Allen, it's you're filling up the gas in the car, dude. You got to have him. And that's what the market demands. He's not going to take less. You're not going to disrespect him by offering less. You just had to do it. It is what it is.
I just want for once in my sports fandom. And again, you guys know I'm a Chicago sports fan. I don't deserve nice things, right? I think we know that. We have talked about this.
Right.
I want how do I say this? I want philosophy where, okay, I'm going to go and acquire this commodity, this talent. I'm going to go and acquire this talent. And then I'm going to build a system around this talent that helps him survive and thrive, not just survive.
Right.
Josh Allen needs, right? And again, I'll just stick with the Bears. You drafted 3 quarterbacks in Trubisky, Fields, and now Caleb Williams. And for the previous generations of Bears, head coaches, general managers, you did nothing to support those quarterbacks. Now you draft Caleb Williams. Last year, you went and got him a ton of wide receivers. But he got sacked 68 times or whatever it was. So this offseason, what have you done? You've invested in the offensive line. You have a quarterback that now has a head coach who supposedly is a quarterback guru. If you're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars that you are absolutely, without question, going to pay that player, build a system around him.
Yeah, what? Shane Waldron wasn't good enough with Caleb, bro? Come on, dude.
Please, please.
Which, again, brings us right back to the conversation of defensive-minded head coaches struggling to win championships in the NFL. And, again, it's this whole situation where Andy Reid and company are offensively, from a game plan standpoint, gifted. And what did they do? They went out and got Spags to run the defense. That's what they did.
Yes.
So this is not rocket science. So my point is I don't mind the Josh Allen contract. Yes, it's a lot. I don't know the percentage of the cap it is, but it's obviously a lot of money. And you have to go out and you have to make a tough decision on Sean McDermott, because ultimately, this is a guy who typically has a really good defense, but can't get the offense in a good enough spot.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting conversation. It is. And I think when we sit here and we look at what today represents in the NFL free agency opens today at noon in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So, or 2 hours now.
This is the time of year where Super Bowls are going to be won and lost for certain teams. It is.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by it. I think the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think the Giants are a sleeper. If I'm Pittsburgh, I think Aaron Rodgers, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm doing everything I can do to get to Pittsburgh because he has to win another Super Bowl for him, not for legacy, because I don't necessarily believe in what the public thinks his legacy is. And the whole I'm immunized thing. Okay, totally get it. Aaron Rodgers, and Mrs. Monty and I have been watching his documentary thing.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers talks a lot about his legacy, a lot about what he has not done, a lot about wanting to win, and he believes he can still play at a high level. Aaron Rodgers, and he don't watch this show, I'm sure. Aaron, if you're watching, go to Pittsburgh. If they say you can't do the Pat McAfee show, don't do the Pat McAfee show. That, I just think it's so critical for guys to not get to your 50s and be like, damn.
Yep.
What if I had? Oh, man, can you?
Well, I mean,
how much regret does Brett Favre have right now?
Oh, a ton.
Oh, my God.
I think, but if you're Aaron Rodgers, I think what you're comparing yourself to in terms of path and decision is what Tom Brady did, because Tom found a way, and you can also find a way.
Just please, if you're the Chicago Bears, the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you're going to spend this amount of money, do everything you can do to build a system to support your players. Don't spend $250 million on Josh Allen and then not go get wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And there he is, the man we have talked so much about on this show. Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis. Dr. Scott, now is it Ed? Now, you've worked hard to be a PhD, so is it doctor? Like, where are we going here?
Ed is just fine, guys. My wife calls me a lot of things, and she doesn't call me doctor. I can tell you that.
Can you imagine if she said, "Hey, doctor, breakfast is ready"?
I'd be concerned. I'd be really concerned.
That is awesome. Well, good to see you. I know that you are somebody that is in high demand around the world, so let's get right to work with you. Obviously, you're somebody, and you don't know this, but we've talked about you a lot on this show. I thought the interview you did several weeks ago on 92.9 was really enlightening. I think your voice has brought so much energy to Memphis. So when you look at the grand picture of Memphis, Ed, what is your role in the success of Memphis Athletics?
Honestly, I think I'm just a steward of Memphis Athletics, right? You know, the athletic department was here long before me. The university was. It'll be here long after me. And I had the privilege of working with Tony Bennett before coming here. And I think you heard it in his retirement speech, that if we look at these opportunities as if they're on loan to us and our job is to make them better, then I think we'll leave the place in better position than we found it. And so that's my only goal, is to be a voice for Memphis and to stand up for Memphis in a way that I don't think people really have in the past. And so far, we've been pretty successful at that.
Well, I also think one of the interesting things is that you're coming into a time where the business of college athletics has completely changed. And I mean, it's changed in a very short window of time. And you look at your, and I mean, no disrespect when I say secondary sports, look at your experience at Memphis, and look at your background at Virginia now. And you look at you've gone from a small school to Virginia now to Memphis. You're uniquely qualified, in my opinion, to lead Memphis into this new world of finances and college athletics. Do you agree with that your history, your track record, your background qualified you pretty uniquely to lead Memphis?
Well, it sounds a heck of a lot better when you say it than me, right? From a humility standpoint. But, you know, I'm reminded, and I tell my staff often, I'm reminded of the Steve Jobs commencement speech. I think it was at Stanford, where he said, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And I think working in a city like Baltimore, in a low resource institution like Morgan State, and having to stretch a dollar and be really creative, you know, and in that type of demographic, and then going to a place like Virginia that has old money and history and tradition at the highest level of college athletics, I think I have a set of experiences that allow me to walk into any situation that Memphis is facing and feel at least comfortable that I've been exposed or I have some experience in these areas. And so I'm excited for this new iteration of college athletics. I think those of us who embrace it will be successful, and those who don't will have a difficult time.
And when you talk about embracing, the way college athletics works now, obviously the AAC just rolled out this minimum investment program. How do you feel like that helps, Memphis move forward and work with its student athletes to be successful in college athletics?
So simply put, it helps the league, right? And I think the better the league is, the better it is for Memphis. Look, you guys have talked about it extensively. The bracketologists are talking about it. We're at a disadvantage because our basketball program is so good right now, but the league is not as good. And so I think a rising tide lifts all boats. You saw it with our women's soccer program. Everyone wants to talk about basketball or football, but look at women's soccer, who was in the top 20 for almost the entire year. They lose one regular season game to Tennessee by 1 goal, and then losing a golden goal in overtime in the championship, and they can't make the tournament. So my goal for the American is to get better, because if the American gets better, it helps Memphis. And I think that's how we should look at it, as a good partner to the conference.
But let's talk brass tacks then. How committed to the American are you? And we've heard all about this flirtation of Memphis is going to the Pac-12, right? Like we've heard that. I've heard you talk about it multiple times. And I think the question that I would ask you, Ed, is are you in a place, where you're still available to the Pac-12? Does that interest you? And have you spoken to, or do you have a continuing dialogue with the Pac-12 right now?
I appreciate the directness of the question. We're committed to the American because it's the only home I have, right? It's the only home we have as a department. We don't have any other offers. We don't have an additional offer from the Pac right now. And Teresa and I only had that one conversation after everything transpired, and I did that press scrum, which I really appreciated my conversation with her and her approach. So right now, and I'm sure you're going to ask this, our focus is really on just winning, and winning at a high level, because that's what we can control. I'm less worried about the Pac-12, the Big 12, and I'm more worried about making sure we compete at the very highest level we can. As a competitor, I want to compete against the best in the country. And if that's in the, whatever league, then that's where we want to go. So it's nothing about disdain against the American, but it's about how do you position yourself as an athletic department to show off your university against the best competition in the world. And that's our goal. I've never been shy about that from day one.
No, well, that's certainly true. No, you have not. And I appreciate that. I think we try so hard not to talk directly about things. We try to talk around things. And I just think one of the things that I would directly ask you is, did you, when you talked to the Pac-12, obviously you guys got back together as a conference, and your commissioner has talked about the stability in the conference. Mm-hmm. Did you sign a new agreement? Do you have a long-term grant of rights? Like, what is your contractual situation with the AAC?
Our contractual situation has not changed at all. It's the same before the offer from the Pac. So nothing has changed as far as the circumstances surrounding our membership to the American Conference. And I will say this, because, I think Tim gets hit pretty hard. Tim Pernetti, that is, gets hit pretty hard. He's got a tough job, because in our conference, you have a wide spectrum of institutions with varying levels of investment. And so he's got to herd everybody. It's like herding cats, right? He's got to herd everybody and get them rowing in the same direction. So I don't envy the job that he has, because the goals that Memphis have could be very different than someone else in the conference. And I think Tim has got to find a way to bring everybody together. But to answer your question directly, because I don't dance around anything, we do not have another offer. And we're committed to the American, because that's where our home is. And I can't worry about something I don't have.
Well, I also think it is, and damaging might be dramatic to use as a term, but it's damaging these conversations about leaving, staying, going, money, what we're willing to commit to. Like, how sustainable are these conversations, realignment? Because you guys feel to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you feel to me as somebody that wants to be at the highest level of college athletics. I don't care if it's football, basketball, soccer, but it doesn't make sense to me that we continue to talk about Memphis going here or Memphis going there when you guys have simply said, hey, we want to play at the highest level. Does that mean that your aspirations are to be in a power conference? Does that mean that you want to win the college football playoff every opportunity that you guys get? Like, when you say I want to be at the highest level, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's really circumstantial, and here's why. right? We're ranked 16th in basketball in both polls right now, right? Hoping to move up a couple spots today. Football finished in the top 25, right? And we're one of only 6 schools in America to do that. So I would argue that our program right now is as good as anybody comprehensively, especially on the revenue sports side. And so if there's a path to get to the CFP and a path to get to a Final Four and for our Olympic sports to get in the NCAA tournament, then that to me is the highest level. If that path is in the Big 12, if that path is in the Pac-7 or 8 or whatever the numbers are going to be, or if that path is in the American, I'm fine, right? I'm less worried about everyone else's concern, but I think what we hear all the time and what you're really alluding to is the fans. There's the rational argument and there's the passionate argument. And as the athletic director, I have to have the understanding of the difference between both. And so I understand why folks are passionate about getting out of the American. But I've actually listened to you guys speak before, and I thought you did a wonderful job characterizing why we did not take the offer from the Pac-12. Even if that gives us a chance to compete at a higher level, it could be at a detriment to us financially, which ultimately doesn't give us the chance to compete at the highest level, right? And so I have to wade through that information when trying to make the best decision for Memphis Athletics.
You talked about travel, and I think that's a big deal. I think the mental health of your students, I think the well-being of your students is always paramount. You've said that. How big is that travel piece? And if we're talking about the Pac-12, I mean, Corvallis, Oregon is not an easy place to get to. Going to the Palouse is not an easy trip to make. Like, how significant is that to you?
It's really significant because, look, the other set of experiences that I have is I played baseball in college, and I was fortunate to play a little pro ball when I was done. But I know what it's like to be on buses for 6-7 hours. That's not fun. And I don't want to put anyone's son or daughter in that position where they have to take a 2-stop, commercial flight to Pullman, Washington. And so that's very real to us. Look, we have to do a better job telling a better story at Memphis. Everyone wants to talk about how successful we are athletically, but what folks aren't talking about is a 3.4 GPA as a department or 58 student athletes earning a 4.0, right? So these young people, and 79% of our department earning a 3.0, 333 individual student athletes at a 3.0 or better. So I owe it to them to be able to pursue their academics at the highest level as well. And I still don't think you have to sacrifice the academic component for this pro model of sports that we're going into, because we're still dealing with 18 to 22-year-old young people. And my job is to give them the best experience. And I didn't think putting our Olympic sports in the Pac-12 for the amount of money they were offering certainly was not the best option for those young men and women.
And I think when you talk about competing at the highest level, I think we hear so much in the media and in conversations about this NIL piece. And I think this new program the Americans rolling out, where this new program gives you guys 3 different ways to benefit student athletes. Like, I was looking at the Alston payment portion of it that deals with academics, like you were just kind of talking about. I mean, is that something that you guys can be more aggressive with? Because Tim Pernetti talked about how the $10 million number is just a minimum. So do you feel that Memphis can be more aggressive with this and that can help you guys win at a higher level? Or where do you kind of come down on that?
Yes, exactly. I think you hit it right on the head. I do think that we can be more aggressive in this space. FedEx has been a tremendous partner of ours and given us that $5 million over 5 years, so $25 million, which gives us a base of $5 million to start from. There's a matching component to that. We have to raise $2.5 million in order to get that full $5 million. So that puts us at 7.5 just to start. Right. And that's before we, garner other support. So I think a niche for Memphis in this new space of college athletics is that we have great donor support and phenomenal corporate support. And I think that allows us, while we may not have a budget as big as some of our competitors in the top 25, we can pay student athletes in this new model better than a lot of schools. And I think that's a niche for Memphis, right? It allows us to try to retain a PJ Haggerty or do what we did with what Ryan did with Seth Hennigan and retain a star quarterback who started for 4 years. So I actually think that's our niche, and we're going to try to exploit that. I think in any market, you got to figure out what you do the best, and then you go at that 100%. And I think we right now, especially at our level, can take care of student athletes from a name, image, and likeness and a revenue share standpoint where a lot of other schools in America can't. And we're going to exploit it.
Do you buy into this idea of breaking college football away into, call it whatever you want, a super league, a new entity? We've heard so much about that because I don't feel like, again, and I'm not speaking for you, when I look at Memphis, I don't think it's just, your situation's not sustainable. Is this ridiculous? You're winning too much for your fellow members of the AAC. Like, I think you guys you're in not a dissimilar situation to what we saw with Clemson and Florida State. And I think it's very interesting where you guys are.
Yeah.
Can a new football entity help you? And do you support that? Do you buy into that being the future of college football?
Honestly, I'm wide open, right? You know, I tell our team, I don't think in a box, because when I look outside my window, I see the entire world. I don't see a box, right? So if we have to bifurcate our athletic department, meaning if we take football one direction, whether that's a super league or a certain conference, and we were to go in a different direction with basketball and our Olympic sports, if that's what's best for Memphis, then that's what I'm going to do. I think for so long, we've tried to be traditionalists, and we've seen in the courts that the traditional model is not working anymore. So I don't, it doesn't matter to me as long as it gives our football program a chance to compete at a high level, and we're building this or renovating this beautiful stadium. We got to fill it up, right? And we got to generate more revenue from football. And if it's best for basketball and others to go in a different direction, then so be it. What I don't want to do, and I'm careful when I answer these questions, I don't want to lock us into something that I don't know doesn't exist. I think good leaders, as I said before, I call it situationalship. Leadership is situationalship. Laird was in a different situation than I was. Tom Bowen was in a different situation than Laird. So I think you look at the situation and you say, what is our goal? If our goal is to compete at the highest level, well, if they present me an option that allows me to do that, and it doesn't have football and basketball in the same conference, so be it. The goal is to win. And if we can win at a higher level doing that, then that's what we're going to do at Memphis.
Is private money attractive to you guys also? Because I think whatever private money is, donor money, we hear all about these investment firms that are $1 billion. Like, all the big numbers are great, but there's always the unintended consequences. So are you guys looking at private equity? Are you guys looking at ways to enrich yourselves that are not in all-state stadium kind of thing? Or because it just doesn't seem like, and I don't mean to be redundant, but it just doesn't seem like this financial model is sustainable. And I don't care if you're in a P4 or a G5, the numbers are getting more and more difficult to add up. And it seems like everybody's talking about private equity.
Yeah, people are. We've done some exploratory conversations about it. Listen, I'm gonna be very vulnerable here. As you guys know, I'm transparent. I grew up without a lot of means, well below the poverty line. I struggle borrowing money if I don't know how I'm going to pay it back. And I still don't know that anyone has a full grasp on what the return on the investment of private equity money will be. And for me and for our department and for President Hargrave and talking with him, that's just something we got to learn more about. Until we know the ins and outs of it, I think it's a speculative market. And it's kind of like the Pac-12 deal with the media deal, right? It was speculative. I don't need to speculate right now. Is it sustainable long-term? Probably not. Is it sustainable for us in the near future? Yes. So that gives me time to be deliberate, judicious, and really discern, what's going to be best, and try to understand. Because let's say it's a 9%, 10% return on private equity. Is it better to get a loan at 4 or 5%, right? So I think, I just don't want to get enamored with the new and the shiny. I want to do what's right. And sometimes it's best to be first, and other times it's best to be right. And I think where we're going at Memphis and what we're trying to do athletically right now, it's best for us to be right and not necessarily first.
All right. Last question I'll ask you is about Penny Hardaway, because one of the fascinating things I heard you talk about was leadership conversations about who's at fault for winning and losing. And I thought that was one of the best answers that I've ever heard you give. So let's talk about Penny and basketball, and how important is it to win games in the tournament versus just going to the tournament? And what are your expectations for Memphis basketball over the next month?
Yeah, I'll take it backwards. My expectations are for us to try to make a deep run in the tournament. We're resourced like a Power Four in our basketball program. We always have been. That was my initial conversation with Penny, right? If I take his resources and put them up against Virginia and some of these other blue bloods, you'd be surprised how well Memphis stacks up from a facility standpoint, travel standpoint, and then just resources around the young men in the program. So yes, my expectation is that we make a deep run. Now, I also have to understand Penny's still growing as a coach. He's been very open and vulnerable about that, which I'm so proud of him for. So, what that looks like this year, I don't know. But I tell you right now, I don't think anybody wants to play Memphis in the NCAA tournament. I'm disappointed about where our seed is. So I have to, potentially is. So I have to take that into account. But unequivocally, the goal at Memphis in men's basketball is to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And just to watch Penny grow over this year, for me has been a joy to watch how the city has re-embraced him and to watch how a native son of the city has re-embraced the city and reinvigorated it in my first year, man. I'm just so grateful for the success that he and Ryan and Brooks in soccer and Richard has had in soccer. God has given me more grace than I deserve, and I'm just trying to absorb it right now and support Penny and the guys, because if we get the right matchups, you could see us in late March, early April, making some noise in the NCAA tournament. And I'd love to do that for Memphis, for this city and this university.
Do we understand how important Memphis basketball is to Memphis? Do we understand? I don't think people understand how important your athletic program is to Memphis. Do you think people understand that relationship?
Man, I'm so excited you said that and you threw me this alley-oop. And if I miss this dunk, it's on me. Look, there's two things I underestimated coming to Memphis, right? Putting all my cards on the table. Number one was the media attention. We have a lot of beat writers in a small space, and they're all trying to carve out elbow room. And so it's awesome that people pay that much attention, but they also regurgitate a lot, right? And so I have to be mindful of that and how I handle that. The other thing I underestimated, not just basketball, and you saw that against South Florida. We had over 14,000 people at a game against South Florida. Right? We average almost 12,000 people at men's basketball, which is more than the majority of the country actually seats in their arena. But the other thing I didn't realize is how important Memphis athletics is to this university and this city. And I'll give you an example. If the university is trying to raise $45 million this year, the responsibility of the athletic department is $25 million. So what other schools does the athletic department raise about 60% of the actual funds that go to the institution? And by far, we are the biggest marketing arm for the University of Memphis. We had 21 games, men's basketball games on ESPN, one on CBS, and we had 12 games on ESPN for football linear. These are all linear. I'll put that up against most P4s in the country. So at the end of the day, I underestimated how important my role is to further the university and the city. And that's why I say I'm very grateful, because it's an awesome experience, both in fun and in size and scope of responsibility. So thank you for that alley-oop, but you couldn't have laid that up there any better for me.
Hammer it. Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis. Ed, really nice to meet you. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you guys for your time, and you've been very kind to me over my tenure. I've heard some of your comments, and I really appreciate it. So go Tigers.
You bet. There you go. Wow. Lived up to it.
Awesome,
it is
dude.
very rare that you have you get an interview like Dr. Ed Scott, and then he goes and lives up to it. I think the relationship that Memphis athletics has, and we talked about the importance that athletics plays to enrollment in fundraising.
Yeah.
I think in places like Memphis, it's critically important. You have to have, they play at FedEx Forum. Remember that.
Yeah.
They play in a big building, and that building's not empty. And I think when we look at things like Penny Hardaway or Deion Sanders, for instance, can you imagine Penny Hardaway and the relationship he has with that city not being successful? And the funny thing is, I don't think people understand that he's been a really good head coach at Memphis.
Yeah.
He's never lost or won less than 20 games in a year. And now I understand that 20 win bar is not what it used to be, but that's pretty dang good at a G5 like Memphis. I think it is really important that we all understand the place that a Memphis or a G5 live and how important winning is to resources. And I don't mean better flavors of Gatorade.
Yeah, I mean, when your athletic department is responsible for raising 60% of the funds of the university,
What is their budget? $62 million, I think.
I would have to look, but yeah,
Man.
I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. I mean, I think the point is really solid. Like you take a job and you take that job knowing that not only obviously your goal is to win, right? Of course, but as part of winning, if you don't win, you're going to struggle to fundraise. You're going to struggle to raise money for the, again, I want to make this clear. Dr. Ed Scott didn't just say that they're responsible for 60% of the athletic department budget. He just said they're responsible for 60% of the university's
budget.
Dude.
Money.
Like, that is a massive responsibility.
Look at Arizona.
Man.
Look at that.
That kind of mistake happening at Memphis would be
crippling.
It can't happen.
Crippling.
And so the point just is that people, I feel like sometimes ask, hey, well, why did Memphis or any other university hire this person to lead their athletic department as an AD? And it's very clear to me after having him on the show right there why they did. And it's because he's forward thinking. It's because he's got the right type of energy. It's because he's listening to that interview. It's very clear he's a massive advocate for being transparent and being open. And
how about a guy answering direct questions?
Yeah, like he's being transparent and is cool with having the conversation. So I just think that the question about, hey, like Memphis is in a similar position to what Florida State and Clemson were dealing with in the AAC, I think is a really interesting conundrum if you're the American, because you can't, obviously they're not at risk of losing Memphis. I don't think after what he just said about their relationship with the Pac-12 right now, I don't think Memphis is going anywhere. But if you're the American and you're Tim Pernetti, you got to take care of Memphis and you got to make sure that relationship stays strong.
I also think Memphis has to find a place where other people are going to win games, because I think they just don't have enough competition. They don't have enough people. He said what I always say: a rising tide raises all boats, and they don't have the rising tide. They are the rising tide. Yeah. They are the boat.
Yes.
Right. They are. And I
thought his point about too. Let's not skip over the fact that he just said that their starting base with this new program is $7.5 million, not 3.3, and that's partially through sponsors and other things that they're doing. So they're definitely a program that's being aggressive with it, which was great to hear.
Yeah, I love that he answered questions directly. Yeah. It's so hard, and you guys know we don't do a lot of interviews, and maybe that's what this will transition us into. Big changes coming to the Monty Show. So we'll end the show today telling you that we are, in fact, moving back to our afternoon time slot, April 1st. It's not going to be an April Fool's Day joke. Because I know everybody's going, oh, hey, Monty.
Oh, well, Monty.
We will be moving back to afternoon starting April 1st. 3 to 7 Mountain, 2 to 6 Pacific, 5 to 9 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to do more interviews. It's very difficult to get people of note like Dr. Scott or Gloria Navarez, or we don't ask Jimmy, the beat writer, to come on the show.
Right. We could, we don't.
It's just we don't see the greater good in that. What we do is we try to talk to principals and athletes. We try to talk to people who impact your sports world. Dr. Ed Scott, perfect example.
Right.
That's why we don't do a lot of interviews. In the afternoon, we will be doing a lot more interviews. Those people are more readily available in the afternoon than they are in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Number two, it gives us an opportunity to go and do things like Big 10 Media Day, Big 12 Media Day.
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity to go to bigger events. It gives us an opportunity to broadcast from different locations, which for us means we can drive more revenue through the show. We can, there's just more things that we can
available
do
to us.
So that's April 1st. That is
and our first show in the afternoon will be the 7th, I believe it
is. It will not be April 1st.
Yeah, because we have some travel, unfortunately, the first week of April. But
our first show will actually not be. It will actually be April 1st. Will be our first show, because then we are in Chicago from the Friday the 4th.
Oh, right.
Through Sunday the 13th. So we'll be off that week. And then our next show will be April 14th.
Right. Okay.
So we take our first week off of the year, essentially the second week of April.
Yeah.
So starting April 1st, and I guess, heck, maybe we're doing that. Are we doing that on? I really hate when the month ends on a Monday.
that new. Yeah, so probably the last day of March will be.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yes, we are, in fact, moving back to afternoons. That will happen. And hey, listen, if you're a morning listener and you struggle to listen in the afternoon, I hope you'll stay with us. I do. I see all of your comments. Yes, Kim Coulter, Dr. Ed Scott's a star, but what I got from the interview is that Memphis has piss poor alumni participation. No, I would disagree.
I didn't get that from the interview at all, dude.
No, I think that they're drawing 12 to 14,000 fans in an NBA arena is pretty dang special.
Yeah.
For their basketball program.
Yeah.
Dr. Ed could go and do anything he wants in the world. Dude could run for president. He's that good. He's very, very smart, very well spoken, very well thought. It's not that you speak well, because before you speak, you have to have the thought.
Yeah.
And you can see his mind's in the right spot. No performative political answers. Nothing from him. I love the fact that he didn't just talk around things.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Interview was fantastic. Thank you. Please have him back. We will. Ed is a good guy. Great interview. Appreciate that. Thank you. Mike Smith, Mountain Mama, on the road again for VA appointment. Have a good day, gents. Mike, travel safely.
Yes.
There you have it. The Monty Show, as always. Can't play the exit music. The Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com, Murray, Utah, today at 12:30. Jake will pass out giving blood.
Yes.
I hope you don't. I joke. I probably shouldn't joke about that.
Yeah.
We will be donating blood today, 12:30 at the Advocates office in Murray, Utah. No matter where you listen to the show, coast to coast, the best injury attorneys in the business are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year at theadvocates.com, where you can chat with an injury attorney live online, and it won't cost you a dime. That's where you get clear, risk-free advice, theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.